Telling Our Stories, sponsored by Say It in a Card. Need the right card right now? Meet Say It in a Card. On the go, busy day? With just a few taps on your phone, you can pick any card category, personalize it, animate it, and send instantly. From the fun and festive birthday, love, thank you, to heavy hitter moments, sympathy, breakup, repairing a friendship. Yes, we cover that too. Original animations bring your message to life. Confetti, sliding text, playful colors, custom motion, all built inside the app. Make your greetings stand out. Why scramble for a card, rummage through stores, or send a plain text when you can craft something meaningful, quick, and totally you? It's convenience meets creativity. Download Say It in a Card now on iOS and Android. Create, animate, send in one effortless tap. Your moments matter. Make them memorable. There are some losses that don't announce themselves with a single moment. They settle in quietly, in the middle of a grocery store, in the smell of a certain perfume, in the silence of a Sunday morning when you reach for your phone to call someone who will never answer again. This is the grief that comes with losing your mother. It doesn't matter how old you were. It doesn't matter if it was sudden or slow, expected or not. There is something about a mother, the first voice, the first home, that leaves a particular kind of emptiness when she's gone. An emptiness that the world doesn't always make room for. But today, we're making room. On this episode of Telling Our Stories, we sit with that grief. We don't rush past it. We don't look for silver linings. We just let it be what it is. Real, complicated, and completely deeply human. Because grief is not a problem to be solved, it's love with nowhere left to go. Whether your loss is fresh or years old, whether you're in the thick of mourning or carrying a quiet ache, this episode is for you. Your story matters here. So take a breath, pull up a chair. You're not alone in this. Welcome back to Telling Our Stories, Losing Our Mothers.
In a world where so many stories go untold or misunderstood, there's power in being seen, power in being heard, and power in telling your story in your own voice. These conversations matter. They challenge, they heal, they reveal that our love and our lives are layered, intentional, and deeply human. For us, representation ain't just visibility, it's validation. And this ain't about perfection, it's about honesty. We don't gotta hide no more, don't gotta shrink to fit the door. Every truth we carry inside finally gets to come alive. Every scar, every glow, every yes we never show. We've been waiting way too long. Now we stepping in our song. We telling our stories, telling our stories. Black, queer, and wonderful, yeah. We telling our stories, oh, telling our stories. Loud, soft, beautiful, and rare. Ooh, we telling our stories, telling our stories. In a world that tried to erase, yeah. Ooh, we telling our stories, telling our stories. Now we taking up space. Love don't always look the same. Still it burns just like a flame. Every layer, every piece deserves to live in peace. Ain't no script for how we be, just truth and authenticity. And if they don't understand, we still standing hand in hand. This for the ones who never felt seen. This for the love in between. This for the voices they tried to quiet, but baby, we louder than silence. Whoa, we telling our stories. Ooh, we telling our stories. With Craig the writer, Stewart. We telling our stories. We telling our stories.
I appreciate you guys doing this conversation. This is a very important conversation, I believe, because I lost my mom about a little over a year ago. And when I spoke about it, because I host a couple podcasts, live podcasts, and I ended up talking about it online. And so I got a lot of conversation, I got a lot of messages, I should say, emails through to my website and through social media from people who had also lost their moms. And they were saying that they were having a very difficult time. For some people, it caused them to just kind of stop living, if you will. And I know that we all have recently lost our moms, and I thought this would be a really good conversation to also assist those who may be struggling with it. Because I personally think that when you lose someone, you kind of do a disservice to their memory when you stop living. Because I think about my mom, and if I had stopped living and stopped really reaching and grabbing for more, I think that it would really disappoint her to know that. And one of the last things that she said to me was, no matter what happens, don't stop with what you have going on. So I want to kind of start, you can kind of introduce yourselves again. I don't know if we really have to go into like where you're from and that kind of thing, because that's not really important to the conversation, but you can just kind of start with your name and maybe when you lost your mom.
You want to go?
Well, I'm Fenner, and I lost my mom. Actually, her anniversary date is coming up. She passed March 10th, 2020.
Okay, so like 6 years ago, coming up on 6 years.
From 6 years.
Okay, and then Greg.
I am Greg, and I lost my mother August 15th, 2024. It was actually, what was it, 2
months before I lost my mom.
Before you lost your mother.
Yeah.
So this year will be 2 years.
Okay, and then Ryan.
My name is Ryan. My mother passed away a year ago this past Sunday. So that was February. I can't even keep up with the dates now. But it's just a year.
Okay.
So it's been a year.
Okay. So I want to start with Greg because, like you said, your mom passed 2 months before mine. And I remember specifically a conversation that you and I were having because I had just flown home to Maryland and I was on the phone with you. This was after your mom had passed, but I was on the way home because my mom was having a procedure. My mom had to have a valve replacement first because the blood wasn't flowing through her heart. And so I was on my way home for that, to be home for the surgery. And I remember you saying to me, Craig, listen, I'm gonna tell you, when they stop eating and stuff like that, it's not long after that. So just kind of tell me what you remember about that conversation or what you remember about the last few weeks or month of your mom's life.
Of my mother?
Yeah.
Very interesting start. So my mother was very, very, very healthy.
Yeah.
She's a very healthy woman. I remember back in the day, we'd be in the mall. She'd be out walking all of us. Like she'd be at the door, we'd be like,
still behind.
Could y'all hurry up?
Right.
And the year that our dad drowned, unfortunately, she had degenerative disc disease. And that same year, December, my dad died in June. In December, she had surgery on her spine through her neck. And the day of her surgery, the next day, she walked a straight line because she had been suffering with her back issues. And basically what happened, after the surgery, the physical therapy was excruciating. And everything that it was supposed to do, it reversed. And so she went through a series of things, not necessarily hospital stints, but different things that they were doing to try to get her mobile. And in the end, my mother was not mobile for probably, I would say, the last 7 years of her life.
Okay.
And so April 1st, my brother, we call him Junebug called me. He was very upset. April 1st.
Okay. And your mom passed in August.
2024, August.
Okay.
And April 1st, I remember Junebug called in tears. And we called my mother Muddia, and you know that that's what we call her. And he called me, he's like, Greg, Muddia is sick. And I was like, what do you mean? And I could go back. As a matter of fact, I will go back because I wanted to make sure that one thing that I wanted to bring up would be signs of the decline.
Yeah.
So I'll go back. It was Christmas of 2023, that December. I remember we were talking, me and my mother, we joshed and we talked, all very jovial, always the best conversations. And she looked at me and she said, I'm tired. And I go, what are you talking about? You're tired. You're never tired, Mom.
And how old was she at this point?
82.
Okay.
She was 82. And it was Christmas. And she looked at me, she said, Greg, I'm tired. I was like, okay, whatever. I get whatever it is that you're tired from. Let's fix whatever it is.
Right.
And one part I'll maybe discuss later if it comes up. But to answer your question, that April 1st is when Junebug would have called, even my little nephew. He's the only one out of 1,000 people that called her Granny. He never called her Muddia. And he had gotten the phone, he's like, Uncle Greg, Granny, something's wrong. And they had rushed her April 1st and to the hospital. And she did about 3 different stints in the hospital. And again, my mother, in all of those years, she was never in and out of the hospital.
Right.
Because she was an extremely healthy woman. And I remember 4th of July, 2024, I'd gone home. And as soon as I walked through the door, I'm screaming, Muddy, what's up? Da-da-da-da, whatever. And there was nothing. And I'm like, well, what is going on? Like, we're supposed to be, having our time together when she first sees me. Long story short, she had taken a pain pill. And she was like knocked out, whatever. So we ended up having to call the ambulance. And I, unfortunately, was the one to follow the ambulance to be with my mother because we were having a birthday party because her birthday was June 28th. It was July 3rd or 4th on that day. But long story short, I was with her at the hospital for the first time. And all of my siblings were at home. And I got to experience what they had been dealing with for about 3.5, 4 months.
Right.
Ugh. And I remember when she came out of whatever state that the pain pill had her, I remember that would have been our last in-person conversation.
Yeah.
And I remember being brave enough to ask her, do you want to live? And she said, of course I do, Greg, and I'm going to be fine. Oh, really? Okay, good. Because I saw where she kind of reverted back to being not a childlike,
but that's what they say.
Saying like the carrots that they had for her, she needed them cut and all the things. And you know how I was about my mother. It didn't matter what it was, I did it. And I'm like, all right, girl, you getting on my nerves.
Right.
I ain't finna be sitting up here cutting no carrots and stuff with you, lady.
Right.
But I did it because that was my mother.
Yeah.
And I do remember asking her if she wanted to live, and she said, of course. And so they discharged her maybe 2 or 3 days later. And honestly, that's when things really took a turn. When I came back to Atlanta beginning of was August, like 2nd or 3rd. We had called hospice by then. And I don't remember the exact date, but we were all told, get home
Right.
to Slocum.
Right. Well, pause right there because I wanna come back to the moment when you knew, like, she was going to pass. So, Fenner, your mom, it's coming up on 6 years. March will be 6 years. So, how did you find out and what happened? Because that was COVID.
That was
2020.
COVID. That was COVID. So they didn't really have a lot of tests. They didn't have those tests during that time. But she happened to call me on, well, she was dealing with some, as she thought, allergy issues, things like that. And so she called me probably like on a Saturday and Sunday, and she said, you know, I'm not feeling well, allergy issues, I'm gonna go to an urgent care. She went to an urgent care and they gave her some antibiotics and, you know, she thought that that was gonna help her. And so that Thursday she called me, well, we had talked during the week, but Thursday she called me and she said, so I just wanna let you know, I'm gonna go to the emergency room, something's not right. And so I thought, okay, well, they'll take care of it. Urgent care didn't, you know, that's something quick, but the emergency room will get you what you need. And so, you know, got there, checked her in, and, you know, they did test and they found that she had pneumonia and she had the flu and she was extremely dehydrated. So they kept her and just started pumping her full of fluids. And I spoke to her the whole weekend and she was great, so much joy. And, you know, she was ready to leave though. She said, you know, they poked me enough, I'm ready to go. And so, you know, I asked, well, when are you supposed to get out? So she was supposed to get out that following Tuesday. And so that Monday morning, I had my ringer off because I tried to turn my ringer off. At the time I was, you know, doing a lot of substitute teaching. So they call you all times of the morning.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
turn that off. And when I turned it back on, I started getting all of these texts. And so my brother sent me a text and he said, she didn't make it. So I just, at the time, it didn't register like she didn't make it. I thought that maybe he had sent a text to someone else. I was just trying to figure out what he was talking about. And so, right as I was about to call him, my stepfather called me and he said, I'm so sorry. And I think nothing, I like numb in that moment because then she didn't make it, my brother's text. And I think even at that time, my brother was still trying to get me. And so I just dropped the phone and I started screaming. And then I couldn't believe it because she was supposed to leave the next day.
The next day, yeah.
And so, and in my head, you know, she had just turned 72. And so for me,
That's still young.
still young.
That's still young.
I just knew I had so much more time with her because the women in my family lived, you know, such long lives. It was the men. You know, not that I wanted my father to die before, anything like that, but I always knew that my mom would outlive my father, you know. And
also because women typically outlive
they
men.
typically do. And so it was surreal.
Yeah.
And it took me a second to even come to grips with it. Like, I think even years before I even realized, okay, she's not coming back. Because I still think that even though she was gone and I went to Virginia and I had to actually, at the time, they hadn't started to make her up. And so they didn't want me to see her not made up. And I was like, well, no, this is my mom. So I know what my mom looks, regardless. And they were like, well, she doesn't have anything on. I'm like, well, let's put something on her. And I remember like when they did get her to a place where I could see her, I just kind of stood there and looked at her like.
This is at the hospital?
This is at the funeral home now.
Okay.
Because they had sent, by the time I got to Virginia, I didn't go there right away. My father, I spoke to my father, which was crazy because at that same time, my father lost his sister, my aunt. And so he was actually on the way to her funeral. And he called me and he said, don't move. He said, give it a day or two before you make a move. And I said, no, I need to drive there now. He's like, don't move, just stay there. So when I got there, she was in the funeral home and I just sat there and I looked at her and I couldn't believe it, like just lifeless, just. And in that moment, I still waited for her to wake up. And I just sat there and just like, you're gonna wake up. You're gonna wake up. And she never woke up. And so I still think after that, even after the funeral and all of that stuff, part of me was just like, she can still come back. Even though she's in the ground, she can still come back. And so.
And I think that kind of speaks to the invincibility that we give to our moms. But go ahead.
Yeah. And so each day after that, I just thought like, you can still do this.
Yeah.
You can still do this. And like, I was so upset with her for leaving me. I wasn't upset with God because I had come to God doesn't make mistakes, and God has been so great to me. He was just great to me for even allowing me to have such a special woman in my life. But I was pissed with her for leaving me because I thought like, why didn't you go harder for me? Why didn't you go harder for the family? And so it just broke my heart that she left me and left us because she was so strong. She was so strong and just such a wonderful lady that it was probably almost a year when I just realized you're not coming back because so much time had gotten away from us that I was like, this is it. You're not coming back. But it's still holding on to
that little glimmer of
that little glimmer,
possibility.
That possibility. But I told someone like, I think I realized that it was going to be all right, though. With phones, they send you different messages about different, like something that happened in the past or something like that.
Like those memories that pop up.
Memories, things like that. But I remember like probably about 2 or 3 weeks after she passed, I got this notification on my phone. And so I opened it up and every single picture of her in my phone came through and it just started flashing all of these pictures. And I knew that was her final goodbye to me. And I knew I would be all right. But even still today, it's just one of those things. There's just something missing. Something missing, and no matter how hard you try to fill that void. And I always tell people this, like, years ago, there was a time, like 20s, I went through hard times. My mom was right there. And I think I even told you, we were talking about this in one of the episodes, like how, with relationships, different things, I had gotten so depressed and I gone back home and everyone just poured on me and she was just right there for me that whole time. And, even at that moment in time when I got better and came out of that, I told God that I would never go back to that place. And so if he
that
just
place,
saw me
that
through
darkness, that sadness, that depression.
And after that, I promise you, I only had good and great days. Even though I may have had some issues along the years, things may have come up, but I always had good and great days, no matter what. But after I lost her, I wouldn't necessarily say that I was depressed, but there was this numbness there. And so I wasn't having as many great days. And so trying to get back to that place where I have these great days again, and it's like I'm trying to get back there mentally. And it's so hard because she was that person that kind of helped me. Even if I was slipping into she could see it, she could pull me back. And so I feel like I'm still trying to catch up to this place where I was. And it's almost like you go into autopilot. I think now I'm coming back, over the past couple of years, I've been like, okay, kind of getting back into my thing. But for a while I was just on autopilot and I don't even, for a few years, I was just like, it is what it is. I almost kind of had this fuck it, after I lost her, because I felt like everything I was doing was for her, things that I wanted to do. I wanted to do them for her. I wanted her to be proud. I wanted to give her more. I wanted to do so much. I wanted to cook more for her. I wanted to just do so much more for her. And so I didn't have that opportunity. And so it's like, she was always the one cooking. So I wanted to kind of show her this is where I am with my skill. I want to show, And so,
and now it's like, it's for a while it felt like, there's no one to do that for.
There's no one to do that for. And it's just weird, not having that. She was my person. People talk about that person. She was my person.
Yes.
She was my person. And I will never love anyone like that ever again.
Absolutely not.
And I will never be loved like that ever again. But that's the devastating part that I had to deal with for a while. The fact, that the realization that you will never be loved like this ever again. And I think that we take that for granted. Right. We always think, we're going to always have this love from this person and that person. And then when it's gone, it's kind of like you realize like, oh shit, who's going to love me like that?
It ain't nothing that you can lose that's going to hurt more than losing your mama. Because that's how you got here. You can literally feel your connector leave. That was my anchor. And when she left, I really felt like they just took my attachment away from everything. Don't nothing feel the same. Home don't feel like home. And then it's like you had the moments where you see people who still have their mother, who don't understand that this shit is so precious. You be want to tell them bruh, that hug you just got, nigga, that shit worth more than anything. Just to be able to call or to pull up or to have her cuss you out. You know what I'm saying? And you see people who don't appreciate that shit. I know you done seen this, where you be with somebody and they be like, yeah, man, such blah, blah, blah. Shit, my mama calling me again. Boy, you will literally remember every time you didn't answer the phone. Even if you gonna call back, just to see that shit, you don't know.
I was going to ask you, when you mentioned about being depressed, and you said you were not with her death, you weren't depressed? Or for a long period of time?
I never got depressed. I never went back to that place that I was at in my 20s.
When she had to help pull you out.
When she had to help me pull me out. I never went to that place. I was hurt.
Yeah.
I was brokenhearted.
That's what I say. My heart was shattered.
It was shattered. I was devastated. I wasn't depressed because I trust God. Yeah. And I knew it helped me to lean more on Him. And that was the lesson. I think so. Sometimes we lean so much on other people. And like I said, I go to God anyway, but I trusted Him. Right. And I knew, okay, you're going to see me through. You've seen me through so many things. You'll see me through this. And he has seen me through these years, and he's helped me. Each day it gets better.
Right.
And it has gotten better. But when we talk about it, that's when it takes me back to this
place.
to this place.
Sure.
Yeah.
For me, my grief was a little bit different because it's kind of like, it was during COVID, but as soon as things opened up, I was moving. I was moving, and I really haven't quite stopped since then. I think now I'm getting to this place where it's like, you can relax a little bit more now.
Yeah.
You can travel a little bit more. You can do a little bit more. You can take a little bit more time for yourself now. Because for a moment I was like, I don't want to really talk about it. I don't want to, some people talk about it, and I would talk about it a little bit, but I got to this place where I was like, I really don't want to talk about this, and I'm fine.
Yeah.
And I'll be all right.
The reason I asked you that, when my father died, I was depressed if I had to self-diagnose it, probably 5 to 7 years of just that same feeling of just longing for, and not all the things that, whatever you go through in a depressed state. But with my mother, it's like, not that one was bigger or you can't compare the two, but it's a whole different feeling.
Do you still have your parents?
Yes, I still have both my parents.
Yeah. It's something, the interesting thing about it is, sometimes I get emotional, sometimes I don't. I'm sorry, I can't control it. It is a loss like no other. And this is the thing, as a Black woman in America, you go through a lot of loss, right? But there's a level of loss of your mom in particular, because I still have my dad, so I don't know what that's like, but the loss of your mother in particular, you are acutely aware that you have to figure out how to mother yourself. And no one tells you that. Like, there's so many things that your mother tells you. Drink some water, take a nap. You're focusing on that too much, Yvette. You probably need to not let that become a thing. Or simple things like, it's gonna be all right. There's something about it, it's gonna be all right, from your mother that's different than it's gonna be all right from anybody else. It cannot be replicated. It cannot be duplicated. My father could say to me, it's gonna be all right, and it's not the same. And as we know, life is about disappointment. We think that life is about celebration and wonderful things, but life is about disappointments more than the great stuff. So you're gonna need it's gonna be all right more than you need anything else in life. And I'm acutely aware that I'm never gonna get that from the person I wanted the most from ever again. So I say to those of you that still have your mothers, cherish them. Because everything that she may do that annoyed you, or why is she on me about this again? Like, all of that stuff is the things that you're gonna miss.
I know your relationship that you had with your dad, so I know how you felt about your dad. But I would venture to say, because you had the experience of losing your father, you were kind of experienced when it came time for your mom to pass.
Yes.
It's like you knew what to do,
I knew what
so
to
speak.
expect.
Yeah.
But unfortunately for me and everybody and droves of other people, we had that opportunity to watch it unfold.
Slowly.
And can I
Yes.
cuss really bad?
You can cuss.
I have to be very honest.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I shared this with you, but there were days between that April 1st and August 15th.
August 15th being the day that
The
she
day
passed.
that she died, I did not want to breathe.
Yeah.
I didn't have enough courage to walk down the stairs to work. And that was the worst. That was like she was already dead to me. Because I spoke to her 50 times a day.
Yeah.
And during that process of just trying to make it down the stairs, just to live, I couldn't. And I knew it was probably 4 times that I was like, I am ready
To
before
go.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that was the worst. feelings that I thought I'd ever experienced in my entire life of existence. And that my prayer to God was, get me through this. I have to. I want to live. You know, and that was like I'd never gone through any. Again, I didn't, because I didn't know. Again, that's why when you said it struck such a nerve when you mentioned depression, because I know what depression is.
Yeah.
But this thing with her, whole different ballgame, because we saw all these doctors and hospice and all this stuff that I envisioned in my head. Like, I don't want to see these things unfold. And then the reality is that day.
Right.
And it comes.
Right. And just to give some context for the people that are watching, the difference between when your mom passed and when your dad passed, your dad drowned.
He drowned.
And so it was just sudden. So it wasn't like it was a decline in health. And, you know, you go into the doctors and then there's the home that you have to go to. So it was never any of those things. So the process is different. But to go back to something that you had said, Fenner, too, I think for me, yes, my heart was shattered and it was broken. I couldn't believe it. And I'll go more into my story after we talk to Ryan. But for me, it was almost like, from a logical standpoint, it was like, you know, death is inevitable. You know the day is coming that your mom and your dad are going to pass. Right. And so that's what kind of kicked in for me. Right. And I think that because I think about this so much now that I've had the experience. Because I've had friends who have lost their moms many, many years before I lost mine. I remember one of my friends, she lost her mom like my first year in college. Like we had just graduated, and I remember just thinking like, oh my God. And so then when I lost my mom, I was 48. But I started thinking about people who have lost their moms when they were 12, 15. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, I had my mom for 48 years. But not everybody has that privilege. But I think about people who are struggling, like people who may be in my own age bracket, who may be struggling with the loss of their moms, because I tend to see a lot of conversations on social media, especially like TikTok. And there are people who will say, they are struggling with losing their mom. They lost their mom, and some of them have been recent, and some of them have been for many years. And they're like, I stopped living once she passed. Yeah. And for me, I just believed that I would dishonor my mom, but I think it also helped that she had said to me in one of those last conversations, no matter what happens, I want you to continue doing all of the things that you were doing. Because we had just, you know, with this podcast, this other podcast that I co-host, we had just started a tour. And I had all of these things that were going, and she said, listen, I don't want you to stop doing what you're doing. But Ryan, share with us your experience, when you found out, how you found out, the moment that you knew she was actually going to pass, that it wasn't just a hospital visit.
All right. So I've been kind of dreading getting to my part.
I could see you. I was looking at you.
I'm like, my heart is racing. But 3 years ago, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she went through the battle. She beat it the first time. And then, as a kid, you think, okay, we're good. She's going to keep on rocking. And then you get that call that it came back. And so then when it came back, she said, I don't want to do chemo ever again. She said, that was the worst. I'm not going to do that. I don't care what y'all say. I'm not doing chemo. And so then you have to okay, so you have to respect their wishes.
And you got to process that.
Yeah. I can't make you, go to chemo, especially if you said it was like the worst thing that you've ever been through.
Because then it becomes selfish. It's almost like, I hear what you're saying, that chemo is horrible, or whatever situation you're in is horrible, but I need you here. So I just need you to stick it out and just do it again anyway. Yeah. You know what I mean? That makes it selfish, but go ahead.
So then when they said it came back, she started having these episodes of where she was falling. She couldn't remember things like that. So then one of my aunts called me and said, I think you need to come home. And
Now, how long was this before she passed?
maybe like 4 months.
Okay.
She said, I think you need to come home because, I could call my mom, and of course my mother would still try to make it like everything is okay.
Be the same.
Like everything is okay.
Because they never want you to worry.
Never want you to worry. I mean, she's been like that since I left for college.
That's every mother.
Yeah.
Every good mother.
She never wants you to worry. Oh, I'm fine. I'm just going to go to the doctor. I'll be fine. So then when I went home and you see the reality of it, it's like, her brain kind of went to like, almost like a child. She would have these episodes, like my grandmother's been gone for like 30 years and she'll pick up the phone, I need to call mama. And I'm like, I think that was the first time that like really broke my heart. I was like, wait. And so.
And how old was your mom?
74.
Okay.
And she was like, I need to call mama. And I'm like, why you need to call big mama? And she was like, because I need to pick her up so we go to work. And they used to work together. And I was like, okay. All right. So then it's like, okay, I got to put my big boy pants on. And so, it's like, okay, I'm at home and we're at this facility. So you're at the facility, because the doctor kept saying there's nothing else we can do, but your mother is still mobile to where I don't think she really needs to be at hospice. So I think the facility would be great. At least that way she can be peaceful, things like that. So then I would just sit there with her and she would just watch Gunsmoke all day. And people probably don't know what Gunsmoke is, but it's like a Western show. And she would just sit there and watch it. And she would just stare at it. And I'm like, Mom, what you thinking about? And she was like, oh, nothing, just Gunsmoke. And it was like, she had a smile on her face.
Wow.
But then when I decided that it was, I need to come back, I had to get back here.
Yeah. For work.
And so I come back here. And then 2 weeks after I came back home, then I get the phone call right after I got off work. Like, I hate to tell you, but your mom passed.
Who called?
My aunt did. And so I'm driving when she tells me this. And so.
So she didn't say, well, where are you right now? Can you talk? She just goes straight into it.
Straight into it. And kind of like what Fenner said, like I was driving and I was about to get on the highway and I had to get, like, I really like, the exit was here, like, what do you call that when you're trying to get on the highway? But I basically had to go like this and I almost got hit because I'm like, I can't get on this highway. And so like, I'm like breaking down, I'm crying and I'm just like, I just start shaking and I'm like, I don't know like what to do. And then like I was working in Vinings. And so then in Vinings, it's like, well, how am I gonna get home? Like I can't leave my car here. Like my brain is just going through that. And so my aunt, she's like, she keeps calling me back. I'm like, I need for you not to call me back right now. I said, I need a moment. And so I'm like trying to get my bearings together. And it was just like, till this day is like the worst feeling I've ever had in my life. It's been a year since Sunday. I have moments of where I'm like, she was my car ride home. So I would pick up the phone and call her. And so now it's like, I pick up the phone and sometimes I catch myself about to call her. And I have to catch myself like, stop. That part. And then it's just like Christmas. Christmas was very hard for me. My mother's favorite holiday is Christmas. She loves to decorate and I love to shop for her on Christmas. And I just didn't even, like I put up a tree, I was like, I'm gonna decorate the house, and it's just me. And so I said, I'm gonna do it for her. And then, this, like, it's been hard. I kind of feel like I have been on autopilot. Because just kind of going through life. But me being stuck in Mexico on Sunday, it hit everything because it was the year. And
Oh, that was the year mark.
so as the world is crashing over here,
Right.
I got my family sending pictures and, you know,
From your mom
of my
and that kind
mother.
of thing.
And it's like, this ain't the time at the moment. But, you know, that was my mother, and not being able to pick up the phone. And I have been on, like autopilot. I keep pushing along. And now I see, like, I feel like I am going into a depression to where I go home and I just lay down and that's all I do. Is at work.
Today, my nightmare became a reality. I lost my mom, my best friend. Losing my mom has been the kind of pain I can't put into words. It changes everything instantly. The way you wake up, the way you breathe, the way the world looks when the person who has always made it feel safe isn't here anymore. And I'm learning day by day that life after losing your mom is unimaginable. It's like the world tilts a little and everyone else keeps walking like nothing changed, while you're just standing there trying to figure out how to live without the woman who made you you. Nobody tells you how strange the silence feels when the person who's always answered the phone is suddenly not there. Nobody tells you how many times you'll go to call her before remembering you can't, or how you'll hear something funny or get some good news and the first thought is still, I gotta tell my mom this. You start replaying every moment, every hug, every laugh, every time you said I love you, every time she looked at you with pride, even on your worst days. And then you start realizing how much of her lives in you. The way you smile, the way you walk, the way you love people. You hear a voice in your head and you're trying to cook something. You remember what she taught you without even thinking. And then it hits you. She didn't leave you empty. She left you equipped. But the truth is, nothing prepares you for that first night, that first holiday, that first moment when you reach for your phone out of habit and there's no one to call. Nothing prepares you for missing the person who loved you before you even knew what love was. So if you're watching this and you still have your mom, cherish her. I mean, really cherish her. Call her for no reason. Hug her like she's a blessing because she is. Listen to her stories, even the long ones. Say I love you out loud. Take the picture, show up. Make the time, because one day you'll wish that you had one more moment that you can't get back. Life after losing your mom changes everything. It breaks you, but it also teaches you to love harder, with more intention, with more heart, because once you've lost the woman who gave you life, you understand just how fragile and how precious every moment is. So don't wait. Honor your mom by loving the people you still have, like tomorrow is not promised, because it's not.
I've had so many people say that there isn't anything that you would ever experience like losing your mom, right? And because I didn't understand that, because I hadn't had that experience. And now, so it became one of those things for me where I was so afraid of losing my mom, especially after her health started to change. My mom was a dialysis patient. And I remember when I had to fly home because she ended up telling us, because there was an appointment with the doctor and they wanted us to, she wanted us to be there. She already knew that she was in the beginning stages of renal failure. And she said, well, I want you all to come home because the doctor has an announcement. He wants to talk to everybody. But she had already been to the doctors and already knew what was coming down the pipeline. And so I remember we were there at the hospital, and he basically explained that she was going through the first stages of kidney failure and she was had to be on dialysis. And so there's the process where they have to put the port in your arm, but you have to schedule that. And sometimes there's a leeway of like 2 or 3 months because they have to schedule you. And then there's the period where you have to wait for it to heal before you can actually start dialysis. And so he was saying that she needed to start right away. And she was like, well, I'm not ready to start right now. He said, okay, well, just think about it, but, you need to start making plans. This is the first time I had found out about it. And so, sometimes we get, especially when it's people we care about, whether it's your mom or whomever, sometimes we get a little angry because we care so much. And I remember thinking like, well, when were you going to tell us? Why haven't you told us? Why am I hearing this from the doctor first?
Right.
And I remember the doctor saying, well, this is her health. So she gets to decide when she shares that information with everybody. And so I got that and I received it in that moment, but it didn't change the fact that I didn't know. And I think we all kind of felt like ambushed in a sense from the doctor, because it was just like, we're just hearing about this and this has obviously been going on for a while. And so I remember, because she was a smoker, and I remember saying, and remember, I'm visiting. I had only come home for the appointment. And so I remember looking at her and I said, so you know that the cigarettes are done. And I don't even think I blinked. I said, the cigarettes are done. Today, there are no more cigarettes. I said, and those cigarettes that you have in that closet that you think we don't know are there, those are done too. And then I looked at my brother and I looked at my aunt and I said, let me explain something to y'all. I said, I don't want to hear any, and they all looking at me. And I said, I don't want to hear any incidents where you are going to pick up cigarettes for her. And my mom was still driving. But, my mom was one of those people, hey, run and get me a pack of cigarettes. But I had gotten to a point even before this dialysis thing happened where I told her I don't purchase cigarettes for anybody. I don't care if you're giving me the money. I don't purchase cigarettes. And so unless we were already out in the car or something, she'd say, hey, Craig, stop at the gas station. Let me get some cigarettes. But other than that, if you're asking me to go to the store, I'm not doing that. And so I looked at my brother and my aunt and I said, listen, I don't want to hear any incidents where anyone is going to purchase cigarettes for her. I said, because it's going to be a problem. And so then my brother said, well, can I have her cigarette? I said, you can have every single one of them. And so that was the last time she smoked.
And this was how long before?
It probably was 7, maybe 8 years, because she was on dialysis about 7 or 8 years. And so I remember some friends of mine and I went to spend Christmas. No, not Christmas. It was New Year's. It was one year we went to spend New Year's in the cabins in New York. And we did this whole little ritual where we wrote down things that we were going to leave behind in that previous year.
Right.
And so I remember writing down that I was going to leave behind the resentment that I had for my mother because she didn't prioritize her health. I was carrying that anger with me for the longest and didn't realize it. And I was so upset with her because I just kept thinking and I remember having conversations with relatives, and in particular, I remember having a conversation with one of her good friends. And I said to her, I just don't understand why she didn't stop smoking. And I used to say to her all of the time, she needed to come off the cigarettes. And my mom and I, we used to dream about this life that I live now, right? And my mom was my biggest supporter. She was my biggest champion. And I remember she used to say, well, I sure be glad when you make it because I'm ready to travel. And we used to travel, then. But she was paying for it. And I'm so grateful that we did travel a lot because, when you're on dialysis, it tends to confine you.
It's tough.
And especially when you're talking about going out of the country, because we used to travel out of the country and no insurance is going to pay for it if you're going out of the country. So she used to say, I'll be glad when you make it because I'm ready to travel. And so I remember saying to her, this was before the dialysis and the diagnosis and all of that. I remember saying to her, well, you need to put those cigarettes down because you may not even be here to experience it. And she would say, oh, boy, shut up. So when we did this retreat in New York for that holiday, I remember writing down that I needed to leave that resentment behind. And so I slowly tried to do that. But fast forward, we went into COVID, and I hadn't been home because of COVID. Like, people weren't really traveling at that time, right? And I used to talk to my mom we used to talk on the phone almost every day, right? And my mom still sounded the same. She still sounded really spry. She still sounded really young. And so in my mind, I'm like, oh, she's fine. She's flourishing. She's doing okay.
Right.
And I remember someone text me a picture of her because she had gone to get her hair done. And they said, oh, doesn't your mom look pretty? And they sent me the picture of her. And I think at that point I hadn't been home for it probably had been 2 years because of COVID. And like I said, we were talking every day, but I hadn't seen her. And when I saw that picture, I could see that she had lost weight. I could see that she was darker in complexion. And I could just see that she looked a bit more fragile. And I could tell she had aged. And my heart like dropped. It dropped. And I remember going home, like whenever I could get home, I remember going home and I remember spending time with her. And then just seeing her in person and seeing how fragile she was and how she moved a bit slower. And she still sounded really young and spry, but she was moving like an older woman. And I was just like, what is going on? And that was when I realized the effects that dialysis was having on her health and her strength and her vibrance and vitality, all of that. And so fast forward, she's going to dialysis 3 days a week. But then in the beginning of her diagnosis for dialysis, renal failure, they told her that she also had bladder cancer. So she was going to dialysis Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. And then on Tuesdays, for 6 weeks, she had to go and have the bladder cancer treated. And that was really painful. And she talked about it, and she said something very similar to what your mom said, and that was, I'm not going to dialysis 3 days a week. She said, because I go to dialysis, I'm going to go on Mondays and Fridays now. I'm going to skip Wednesdays because I have to go to do this cancer treatment on Tuesdays. That's just too much on my body. I remember we kind of got into it a little bit because I was just like, well, you need to go. And like, how you going to just, well, Craig, I'm not doing it. And da, da, da. So it turned into like probably a year of her not going to dialysis 3 days a week. She was going 2. Even after the 6 week thing happened with the bladder cancer, once that treatment was over and they cleared it up, she still didn't go to dialysis on Wednesdays. The effects of that caused fluid to just continuously build, because that's basically what's happening with dialysis. They're pulling that extra fluid off your body that your kidneys aren't processing. So every little thing that you eat, whether it's spaghetti, whether it's salad, it turns into water and it needs to process. And so it would build in her lungs, and so it would cause problems where she wasn't able to breathe. So she was getting hospitalized a lot. So it was just a lot. So for me, I think I started grieving along the way because there were always so many moments that I had these different scares. And I remember being in DC at one point for a book signing because I was releasing maybe like my second book or something at the time. And I remember getting a call like 2 or 3 in the morning. I had a signing the next day. And I think she had I can't even remember what had happened, but she had kind of went unconscious for a moment, and they brought her back.
And how long before she passed did you start getting these fears or being scared?
I probably was scared for probably 5 years.
Before
she
passed.
And so what ended up happening was, because again, she was always in and out of the hospital. And I would bring her down here and we would find dialysis places for her to go to while she was here. And my main function for bringing her here was to bring some joy to her life, because it was almost like she was just going to dialysis and coming home. Because there were days that it was so draining that she didn't have energy to do anything except for on her off days from dialysis was to rest. And then she wasn't eating a lot. I learned a lot about dialysis. I realized that it changes their appetite. It changes their palate. A lot of things taste like metal. She could literally ask for this to eat right now, and then 10 minutes later, she doesn't want it. She wants something different. It was just all of those things, and it caused like friction between us, because it's almost like,
tough.
Well, why are you being difficult? Like, I just went and did it, but it wasn't that, right? But that's a part of the learning curve. You don't know that in the beginning. You only learn that as you go through the process. And so it got to the point where my mom was still driving herself back and forth to dialysis. And my Aunt Gloria called me and said, listen, I don't think your mom needs to be driving. Because my Aunt Gloria doesn't drive, so they would still go to the store. They would go grocery shopping together. And my Aunt Gloria started going to doctor's appointments with my mom too. And my Aunt Gloria said, yeah, she's darting out in front of these cars and her reflexes aren't the same. She's not as quick. And so I started having the conversations with my mom about no longer driving.
Oh my gosh.
And of course that went left. She hung up the phone on me. And so I ended up having to jump on the plane And I had to say to her what she said to me many times, I can show you better than I can tell you.
Right.
And so I ended up taking her car keys. I ended up selling her car, put the money in her account. And so it just became this shift where I was now parenting my parent.
Her.
And so something that you said earlier about losing your mom first, I've always been closer to my mom. But I always kind of felt that my mom would leave before my dad. And I think that that's somehow tied into her smoking. And my dad has never really had a lot of health things going on. He didn't smoke. So I always kind of felt like he would outlive her. As a result of losing my mom, it's caused me to write a new book, right? And it's called The Soul's Ultimate Purpose in Life. And it's caused me to think about, like, why are we really here? Why are we on the planet? What happens next? What happens to the spirit? What happens to the soul? Are you reunited with the spirits and souls that you lose, like your grandmother or whomever you've lost? Because there is this conversation that most people and religions will have, that you're reunited with those people. And so I'm having all of these existential thoughts because I don't know if that's really what happens now.
Right.
Maybe that is what happens. I'm not saying that I disagree or I don't agree. I'm just saying losing her has made me more inquisitive. But what I will say is, I believe that everything that happens to us, it happens for a reason in the physical realm here on earth. And I think that reason parallels a spiritual reason. And I think those two things come together for your greatest good, for your greater good, right? So I think from a spiritual perspective, maybe my mother passed. Okay, so in the physical realm, she passed first because her health was worse than my father's, right? But from a spiritual perspective, I think she may have passed first because it's an opportunity for me and my dad to get closer again.
Yeah.
Because my father and I, we lost our way when I was in college. I was an undergrad. And that's a whole different conversation for a different show. But he had remarried and it caused a rift between us. And I remember when I got the call that my mom had passed, I remember like the day or so after that, I just kind of broke down. I was at my dad's house. And my head was in his lap. I was just crying. And I just remember thinking after the fact, she is still the glue between me and my dad.
Come on, get up. Come on, get up out of it. Come on. Get up out of it. Come on. Get up out of it. Pull through it. Come on. Pull through it. I know it hit you. It hit you hard, but come on. Come on. God said, come on and tell them to pull through it. Come on. Pull out of it. Come on. Come on. Pull through it. Come on. Get yourself together. Get your mind together. Come on and pull through it. Come on and pull through it. Come on. Pull through it. Come on and wipe your tears and just pull through it. Stop all that crying and get up and pull through it. Come on. Lift your head up. Come on. Pull through it. Pull through it. Come on. God gonna give you the strength right now to pull through it. But you got to get up. Come on. Come on. He's not gonna just pull you up on your feet. Use the strength he gave you and stand up on your feet and pull through this thing. Come on. Pull through it. Come on. Come on. Pull through it. Come on. Come on. Go ahead and dry your eyes. Come on. Pull through it. Pull through it. Come on. God won't put no more on you than you can bear. Come on and pull through it. Pull through it. Pull through it. Pull through it. Come on. 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 You still here. Come on. Pull through it. You still here. Come on. It didn't take you out of here. Come on. Pull through it. Pull through it. Get your mind together and pull through it. In the name of Jesus, pull through it. Be blessed.
I want to kind of get into some other conversations or parts around it because you mentioned like there were moments where you've gone to pick up the phone to call your mom. I've never had that happen.
I have.
That's not happened to me once. I've not had a dream about my mom once, not once.
Really?
But there have been things that have happened that have provoked me to think, oh, that was her, right? The first thing that happened to me that's kind of similar to like picking up the phone to go to call was the first time that I landed and this was after I left from up there because she didn't want a funeral. She wanted to be cremated, which I want to get into that later too. But the first time I landed home here was after she had passed. And I thought, I didn't go to grab the phone, but I had the thought,
Let her know
I will never have to pick up the phone to call her again and say, I made it.
Yeah.
Because no matter where I travel, whether it's locally,
You called your mama first.
yes, I would always call her. Whether it was
Absolutely.
in the States or out of the country, I
Yes.
always called her first. She was always first. And that was the first time that I thought, oh, damn, I will never have to call her again. And I remember walking through the airport and there were just tears coming down my face. I didn't care who saw.
Yeah.
There were just tears coming down my face because I just remember thinking, it is so final. It is real.
Yeah. Yeah.
So have you had dreams about your mom? I know you said the picture thing happened, the memories came up, but have you had dreams or have you had moments where you went to pick up the phone to call and you were like, oh my gosh, she's not here?
I didn't. So I would just call her phone. So for a while, my stepfather didn't like just end the service. And I think we were both going through this just so we could hear a voice on the voicemail.
Or in the phone service, her cell phone service.
Cell phone service. And so he left it active for a while and I would just call her and just listen to the voice message, the voicemail over and over and over again. And I remember before she passed, I had so many messages on my phone and I had a lot of messages from her on my phone. And I thought, I need to clear these messages up because, after a while, they're like, you can't leave messages anymore. So I just went through. And after she passed, I was like, shit, why did I, because I needed to hear something. But I had one message from her and I still have it. I was able to save it to a file. And she just said, I'm just calling to check on you. And I love you and I'll holler at you later.
Hey, Nikki, it's Mom. Give me a call when you can. Bye-bye.
I would just listen to that over and over and over and over and over again. I remember one night, I just got up in the middle of the night and that's all I did was just sit there and just listen to it over and over and over again. And I had dreams. I used to have dreams in the beginning and I just wake up crying. Just unreal. But I needed to do that just to, I think like I said, I never got depressed, but it did put me in this place where I was like out of my mind, out of my body for a while. And even just went crazy. I think everything at that time that I enjoyed doing, I think just went to another level. I started spending money like crazy, just shopping like crazy. Didn't have the money to do anything with, but just went crazy, just ordering stuff and buying stuff and eating out of my mind. Just went crazy. Just went crazy.
And see, I can relate to that too because, well, let me go back to something that you said. For me, because I saw the slow decline of my mom, I started saving voicemails. I started saving them. And I remember thinking, I'm going to hold on to this because one day I'm going to want to listen back to this.
Hey, I didn't want anything. Just call to see what you're doing. But if you sleep, just call me tomorrow.
I think what was slightly different for me too was I did a lot of traveling. Every time you looked up, and one of my friends said to me, she said, I think that this is kind of like your response to grief. Because I remember, I just started taking these big trips, like by myself. I would go by myself. And that's when this book started coming to me that I started writing because I just would have these quiet moments and I would think about her. And I remember there would be moments when I would wake up. I hadn't had a dream, but I would wake up some mornings and when the reality that she's gone, when it would hit me, I would just break down and just cry. You know what I'm saying? Uncontrollably, like, damn, I can't believe she is absolutely gone. Because very similar to something you said was, I just couldn't believe that she had left me. I couldn't believe she had left me. And because she had had 2 surgeries, she had the valve replacement. It was successful, but it was successful in the sense that it was a beautiful surgery and it was going to be okay. And it was going to be fine. But the valve replacement didn't correct what they needed it to correct. So then they needed to do a pacemaker. And she said, I'm not doing a pacemaker. She said, I'm 80 years old.
I remember you told me that.
She said, I'm 80 years old, and I'm just going to leave it in God's hands now. And I remember my brother, and I'm the baby of the family. And I remember my brother called me and said, Craig, you're the only one that's going to be able to talk her into do this. You're the only one she's going to listen to. You need to call her. And I said to her, I said, I'm not going to do that. Because I had already had the experience with the bladder cancer when she first got on dialysis, and she had said to me, this is my body, and da-da-da. And I heard her. And so I said, I'm not going to be able to do that. You know, I said, this is her choice. And then by the time I went home for the surgery, she had turned the corner. And she said, well, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do it. I said, oh, okay. And so that was that, right? But it was her choice. And I think sometimes we don't want to impugn them. I think we have to leave them with their dignity. I think they have to be able to make choices for themselves because they're already starting to lose their independence.
That's right.
I had already gone home and taken her car keys and sold the car. But that was really that was a decision that I felt like I had to make because she was going to continue to drive. And I didn't want her to be putting herself at risk or anybody else at risk on the road. But the choices that I knew she could still make for herself, because she was still in her right mind, I allowed her to make those choices. I didn't interfere with that. But she literally passed 15 days before her 81st birthday. Mm-hmm. And so again, I started saving voicemails. The year before when she turned 80, I gave her this big birthday dinner. I wanted to do a big old party. She said, no, I don't want to do a party. I just wanted it to be me and my sisters, which there were 3 left, still 3 left. And then next thing I know, it was like 25 people on the list. And so we went to have dinner. So we had this dinner. So I was glad that I did those things because I saw it coming. I flew her and her sisters down here. We did spa days and facials and massages, and we went to dinner. Like I was trying to create moments for myself and for them because I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
I knew it was coming a year before. And then even like she had said to me in the summer, my mother's birthday was October 19th. She had said to me the summer before, oh, I know what I want for my birthday. It was one of the trips that I brought them down here. And I said, why are we talking about your birthday? It's summer. Your birthday is not till October. That was a clue to me. I don't know if she thought she was going to pass, but I think she probably knew that it wasn't going to be very long, much longer. And so I just started paying attention to the clues. And so she said she wanted tickets to go see the OJs, and she wanted me to get tickets for her and her sisters, and she wanted to be put in a hotel for the night. And so I did all of that. I had a car, picked them up from Baltimore, took them to DC. They stayed at a nice hotel. I gave them each money for the casino. They went to the OJs. And you know what I mean? I was just trying to do all of these things. I wanted those last days of hers to be really amazing. And so by the time the fall rolled around and she passed, I felt like she had a great final year, a great last year.
Absolutely. I dream about my mother. There are so many dreams, but I think, I guess you can say I physically saw my father. Like, I'm looking at you, I saw my dad.
I mean, I've had people say that,
I'm just being honest. Hope it doesn't
I've never had that, but I've heard
I
people say
have,
that.
you know. But my mother, her spirit is as big as anything. My mother died at 11:11, which are angel hours.
And so you see that time on the clock a lot.
All the time.
Yeah.
And I just know that was her nod to and from God to her, from her to all of us, anybody that knew her, all the things. Because as close as I was to my mother and how much we both loved each other and all the things, I remember going to that house and I had so much anxiety before she died because they had called us all in. And I remember my biggest fear was walking through that door. And that was my prayer was, God, take all of this anxiety away. And he did. And I got to spend about 48 hours with her before she died. And she died that August 15th at 11:11. And I remember I was at my brother's house. I'd kissed her goodbye. And I remember I told my cousin, I said, tonight is the night that she'll die. Tonight.
You knew that.
And I remember kissing her goodbye and telling her what an amazing job she did raising me and all of my siblings and all the things. And to be very honest, and I hope this helps people out. I was so at peace with my mother's passing, and because God did that for me. And I remember Terry. I was at him.
That's your brother.
Yes, Terry at Tina's house, and he came in. I had laid down for 2 hours. Oh, I may not. Well, this is bad, but it happened with my dad too.
What?
When my dad died, I had to go to the bathroom. Everything in me came out. So the same thing happened to my mother with my mother's passing. 20 minutes before Terry came into that room, I had to run into the restroom, and it just was like bad. And it was 20 minutes later, he came in and he says, Greg, I said, she's gone. He said, yep. And we just hugged. And to be very honest, when we got down to our family home, there was no screaming. There was no, all the things that could happen when your mother dies. It was so quiet and peaceful. And the most beautiful, and I just knew like it wouldn't be any other way with my mother because that just was who she was. And we have a family member that owns a funeral home back home. So the people, hospice came, they did whatever they do and all the things. And then we called Don, who is our family that owns the funeral home. He pulls up in a cocaine white hearse.
Not cocaine white.
Yes, starch white. And I remember when they wheeled her out, and just as she was going through the threshold of that home, something told me to look up, and the biggest star in the sky was hovering over that house. And I said, look at her, she's already working.
So do you have any things? Go ahead.
I want to add to that part. I feel like for me, like the final part when she got really, really sick, that's when we had to start handling business.
Oh my God.
And so when we started handling business, I feel like that's where my grieving got delayed because I had to find a life insurance policy, figure out what the problem is with the life insurance policy, figure out that she didn't took a loan out on this life insurance policy when you think there's a certain amount and they're like, oh, no, that's not it. Even after she passed, still having to do like maybe like a month after, still doing business stuff. And it was like, I felt like I had to stay in that mindset to make sure everything got taken care of while everybody else was grieving away. And I'm like, okay.
Because you were the one that was assigned to do that.
Anyway.
I was like, okay, so I have to do this. I got to do this, you know, because everybody's calling me. They're not calling everybody else. They're calling me. Bank account, you know. Everything. And it's like, I felt like I had to, you know, again, put on my big boy pants and handle this because that's what my mother did for everybody else.
For years.
And I felt like I had to do it. And I think that's what delayed a lot of my...
Right. So do you have like those moments like he said, like Fenner said, the camera roll in his phone sent all of these pictures of his mom and Greg sees 11:11 on the clock. Have you
iPhone's good for that. iPhone is good to give you a good memory. Like, oh, like we're in February and they're showing me pictures of my mother's birthday in April. And I'm like, why?
Right. Yeah.
Why today?
So here's the thing. When my mom passed, I happened to already be at home. We had a show. I was co-hosting Fag Talk with Madison, and we were already in Baltimore. And I will never forget, remember 2 weeks before when she had the other surgery, the valve replacement, that was when she said, don't let anything come in the way of what you got going on. And so I had left the hospital that afternoon because she had kind of turned for the worst. And they said, so all of my family was at the hospital. And then I had to leave because I had a show that night. So I had to leave, go change, whatever. And I remember I got home that night. I got to my dad's house that night. And it was 1 a.m. when I got into bed, went to sleep. 2 a.m. the phone rang and it had the name of the hospital. And I knew. When that phone rang, I jumped up, my heart just dropped. It was pounding. And I was moving around in the dark. I turned the light on, I was putting my clothes on, still talking to the doctor. And I remember him asking me if I still wanted him to do everything he could to keep her alive. And I hung up that phone with him. I called my Aunt Gloria. The phone didn't even ring all the way one time. And she picked it. She said, "What's up?" It was like she was waiting. And I'm going to tell you, it just felt like, it was almost like I could feel her leaving. And so we got down to the hospital, and I remember my last words, like I remember crying, and I remember just saying to her that she had done such an amazing job with all of us. And I said, "This is your time to make a decision for yourself."
Right.
And I said, "I know you want to fight, but I know you have the spirit to live, but I know your body is tired." And I said, "It's okay, we'll be fine." And I remember she had kind of shook her head no a little bit, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. But you know, I just collapsed, and I just kept telling her that I love her, and just all of those things. And so the next day after she passed, one of my cousins had called and said, "Hey, I have tickets to this crab feast. I'm from Maryland." And so me and some cousins and my aunt, we went to this crab feast. And so there was this guy going around with tickets. He was selling raffle tickets because they were going to do like a cash prize. So like all of the money that they brought in for the raffle was going to be the grand prize. And I'm not a gambler. I've never been a gambler. All of my cousins and my aunt, they're all getting their money together at the table for the, for the raffle, right? And I'm like, I'm not doing that. And so I ended up taking some money and I bought raffle tickets. And so my Aunt Gloria said, "Oh yeah, I'm about to win this." And my cousins, they talking about, "I'm about to win this." And I looked at them, I said, "Oh no, my mother's about to win this for me."
I know that's right.
And then I looked at the guy and I said, "My mother passed today," because she had passed at 4:13 a.m. And so this was later that night, like probably 8 in the evening, 9, 10 o'clock. And so the guy called the numbers and he got down to those last couple of digits and he went real slow. And then when he called my number, I said, "I told you my mother's gonna win this for me." And I kissed the ticket, put it up in the air. I went up and I got my money. But my question to you is, the 1111, the grand prize for this and all these things, do you think that that is actually spirit? Or do you think that's just our desire to see them and feel them and have them close? That's a part of what I'm asking in this book that I'm writing.
I want to immediately say, I think it will always be her spirit. Because not only because of the woman that she was, like my mother was a mother to droves of children. And the only thing that I ever known her to be was love. And so she would have never left this earth and not leave me with defining moments that when I get to look at all the things that are happening in my life since she's been gone, that's her like saying, "Hey Greg, this is this," like it's almost like having conversations with her because her spirit is just, to me, it's so big and it's gonna always flourish.
So do
because
you
that's who
think,
she was.
do either of you think that when you see things like that it is absolutely her spirit on the other side working or sending you a sign, or is that just something that people say to feel better about losing people?
No, I do believe it is. Like for you, I feel like they have to make a final encore.
Because I'm like, I don't gamble. That's the last thing I'm going to do.
She was going to make sure you won
gonna
that
do it.
money.
And I had already said it.
Yeah, I already said it. That was her final encore. I think leaving that message in my phone with all of those pictures coming through and pictures of us coming through, that was her final encore. Because like I said, that was like a few weeks later. And I kind of felt her around me during that time. I just felt her presence. And then I kind of felt with that was her final farewell to say, bye-bye, I love you. And in that moment, I told her goodbye. So I think they do have a final encore. And I think every now and then they may
show up
in just to, different forms, just to say I haven't forgotten you. But
yes.
But yeah.
Absolutely.
And see, for me, I think I am inclined to think that there is some truth to that. Because like I was saying earlier, like my mother and I dreamed about this life. And so when I tell you the year after she passed, like the entire year after she passed, it's like my life just changed. I did all of this traveling. And then And I like to think that her spirit was just on the other side working full time. Because like I ended up buying a new place, I moved, and I did all of this traveling, and then just business just changed for me. But there is this vacancy that you mentioned earlier. It's almost like my molecular structure changed. It felt like I no longer had an anchor. It almost felt like I was just kind of moving through the world
alone
on autopilot. And the crazy part about it is, I still have my father. I still have 2 siblings that are older. I have nieces and nephews, but there's nothing like the place that my mom held. And
Absolutely.
I think about people who don't have that relationship with their mom.
Yeah.
Because I know there are people who are going to watch this conversation and think, well, like, I never had that with my mom. Like, you know what I mean? I can't relate to that. But, and I feel sorry for people who don't have that, because it definitely caused a shift in me, and it made me think, like, it forced me to think, like, well, what is your ultimate purpose in life? Like, why are you here? What are you supposed to be doing here?
Right.
And it made me wonder, do you reconnect on the other side? Because there are people who will say, like, you'll see her again and you'll connect. But the question becomes, if your spirit or your soul does reconnect, will it have memory of this life? Will it know that that was your mother? Or will it just feel like a deja vu? You know what I mean?
I believe so.
You believe that you'll have memory of it.
Mm-hmm.
So you think your memory from this life will extend to the afterlife?
I feel like when it's my time, she's going to be like, come on, And,
what's up? Let me tell you
come
how
on.
this thing goes.
I want her to tell me now.
Right.
Anybody afraid to pass?
Well, you know I am.
I know you're afraid.
You
to
know
die.
I am.
And you know I am.
I am not afraid to die.
I'm not afraid to die. I don't want a tragic death.
I don't want a tragic death either.
But yeah, no, and I think, but that goes back to the Lord. I love the Lord so much. And so should he take me today, I would be happy to go with him today. I hope that I see my mother on the other side. I hope that we reconnect, because I've heard 2 different things. I've heard that you do reconnect with them, and when you pass, they're right there during your transition waiting. And then I've heard, well, no, it's not quite that way. So I hope that I'll have an opportunity to see her and my grandparents and other loved ones.
So you think it's a continuation of this life over there?
I don't think it's a continuation.
And where is the over there?
Well, that's the other. Is it dark over there? What you doing all day?
We've talked about this a little.
Yeah, because one of the things that you said to me last week was, your soul is over there working on behalf of the people that are here.
Right.
Like my mom is
right
working on behalf of maybe my brother and my aunts and other spirits and souls that it was connected to here. Her spirit and soul was connected to here.
I just feel like there is obviously a distinct difference when they are here in the present versus not being here. Because you probably wouldn't have moved into this.
I believe this is all her.
You would not have moved
I believe
here
all
if
of
your
this is
mother
her.
was, if she were well in all the things.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I thought about too, because in the other house, because my mom lived with me for about 9 months. I don't know if I've ever told you that. But when my mom's health really kind of declined, I had moved her with me in my first house, and it's a ranch, so it was all 1 floor. And she flourished there, and I was able to get her. One of my friends said to me, I believe you extended her life. You brought her back. Because my mother gained weight. She looked better than she had looked in years. Like, she really, really looked good. And then she was ready. She felt like she was ready to go home. Now, part of me believes that she only chose to go home because she felt like she was in my way. You know what I mean? Because she literally had moved in with me like 2 months after I had closed on that other house. And so I partly think that she chose to go back home, or asked to go back home, not because she really wanted to. Because I think part of what brought her back to life was just having my friends around and us because I started hosting brunches at the house like every week, just to have community around her. Because, like, again, she was going to dialysis, going home, going to doctor's appointments, going home. And so she didn't really have like a lot of conversation. Yeah, she talked to my aunts and people on the phone, but that's not the same. And so she came down here and, you know, she was eating. I brought somebody in that was cooking food for her and like all of those things. And so it just really kind of lifted her. And then we would, you know, she had access to do all of those things, massages and pedicures. And so she had a life. And, but then she chose to go back home. And I really sincerely think that she just was like, I need to get out of his way.
Didn't want to be a burden.
She didn't want to be a burden.
That's how they are.
Yeah. And I think that is what kind of, over time, I think she probably started feeling lonely again and didn't say it. And, you know, I think her spirit just became weary over, you know, after all of that.
We're all from different places. Do
Yeah.
you guys dread going home? I dread going home.
I don't dread going home, but what I feel is I don't really have a reason to go home now.
I say that.
And that's crazy because my dad is still alive. You know what I'm
imagine
saying?
having 7 siblings.
Right.
You know, and I think I dread it going home.
Do you feel a way about going home?
So here's the thing. Both of my parents remarried. And so my hometown, my father, my stepmother are there. So you know, for me, it's easy to go there. So I go and see them all the time. Now, my stepfather and I were like this, and we're still close when we talk. But I have not been to, she moved to Roanoke. She remarried and she moved to Roanoke.
Roanoke, Virginia.
And I haven't been back because I feel like one of the last times I was there was this eerie feeling there. And he's moved from that house, so he's no longer even there. And he's even struggled with this. He's, you know, in therapy and does a lot of group.
Because how long were they married? Do you know?
I want to say that they were married for 4 to 5 years, but they had been together longer than that because after my parents divorced, they met a few years after that. And so my parents divorced when I was like 8 or 9. Okay. So he had been in my life. He's been in my life since I was like 11.
Right.
And so he's my pop. He's my other dad. And so I do feel like the death has kind of put something in between us because I haven't been back. And I do wonder sometimes also if he was a little hurt because of me, because when all of that started happening and we were getting the business together, we had 2 services. So we had one in Roanoke, and then we had a graveside service in Virginia. And so she's in the same cemetery with my grandparents. And in my head, there was no doubt that she was going to be laid to rest in that cemetery with my grandparents. And I think
he wanted something different.
He knew that. I think in the very end, because he couldn't let go, he wanted to have her cremated. And he wanted to hold on to those ashes. And I couldn't do that. I had to say, I'm sorry. I get that, but this is where she needs to be. This is where I think she wants to be. She wants to be laid with my grandparents. This is what we have to do. And I think he had a hard time with that because I think at first he was on board. And then I think as it got close, the funeral and everything like that, I think it got to that place where he was like, oh, wait a minute. If she's in Norfolk, then that's like a 4-hour, 5-hour drive from Roanoke. And so I think he felt like, well, I can't get to her. She's not near me. I can't get to her to visit. And I just felt like I didn't want to do that to him, but I had to tell him, you know, this is what she wants. This is what she would want. This is what she's talked about. And so I think he respected my wishes. And I think he thought, okay, I can't be selfish and just hold these ashes to myself.
Does he have other kids?
He has a daughter.
Okay.
And so she's in DC, proud of her. But I think that was the hard part, a really hard part for him. So I kind of felt like he was going through some things and didn't quite tell me some things in the beginning. And, you know, I was also both dealing with it because we were so in love with her. And so I tell people, like, you're not just in love. People, I think, oh, you fall in love with the person that you spend your life with. And I'm like, no, I was in love with my mom.
Yes.
I was in love with that woman. And so she was everything. She was my best friend. She was my mother. She was almost like a big sister at times. She was everything for me, to me, everything.
You said that a mother is a son's first love. And I'm curious, how do you honor that love and her love for you and her memory with your work?
A mother is a son's first true love. A son, especially that first son, is a mother's last true love. I'm getting choked up. Sorry. But you know when I knew that? When I saw my son, John David Washington, handle my wife. I don't care what he does. She's going, no, all right, baby. What happened? Well, Ma, I think I got rid of 6 of them. Well, just give me the clothes and bring me all the stuff. That's when I realized, really that bond. And, she was there for everything. And she went home. You got a tissue?
I got a tissue.
Oh, you got
a tissue for you. There you go. There you go. Here's your mother. This is the 1990 Academy Awards. Best Supporting Actor for Glory.
It's just terrible. And didn't cry at a funeral.
Why do you think?
I don't know. I guess I saved it up for you. Crying out loud.
The interesting thing about this confidence, this guy, his confidence right here.
Right.
Sigmund Freud, who had his faults, said that a son who believes himself to be his mother's favorite has a lifelong confidence that nothing can shake.
Wow. I don't know if I was a favorite. I gave her the hardest time, I can tell you that. I gave her a hard time.
Well, Denzel, it was really wonderful to see you again. Thanks so much for coming.
My pleasure. Hug them, love them.
I know well.
You know well. You've been down that road?
Yeah, couple times. Yeah, no doubt about that, babe. Thank you, Denzel.
My mother and I, we talked about everything.
And that's what I'm saying.
And I was the baby.
Right.
And, my brother and sister will tell you that I was the favorite. Now, my brother, he handles that well, right? He's like, oh, you listen, I feel no way about that. I know you were the favorite. You know what I'm saying? But we talked about everything. And, my mom, she would ask my advice. You know what I'm saying? She asked my advice, when I was a kid. But one of the things that I would tell you is she did a very good job when she and my dad split. She did not talk bad about my dad to me. She may have felt the way about him, but she never talked to me about that. Yeah. Now, she would keep me in the loop when things like child support came into play. Okay, your dad, and I didn't even know about that until I was going away to college. She was like, okay, listen, your father been sending this child support here. It comes on the 1st. No, it's supposed to come, she said it's supposed to come on the 15th. Sometimes it's a little late, sometimes it's a little early. So, I knew things like that, but, we talked about everything, you know what I'm saying? And even when it was things that pertained to her, she would ask me, what did I think, whether it was about her business. And I think that's where I learned my entrepreneurial stuff, the foundational stuff, even though I'm in a whole different industry than she was in. But I think that's where I learned that drive and that stick-to-itiveness, because I saw her get knocked down many times trying to get that business off the ground. And that happened to me for many years, And so she would say to me, one day all of this stuff is going to happen for you. And she said, and you're going to be so busy and you're going to be trying to figure out how you're going to have time. She said, I don't want to hear no complaining about, I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to do that. But even at the latter part of her life, when it came down to her health, she still would ask me, well, what do you think? And I would tell her what I would think. And then I would say, but what are you feeling? What do you think? What is your gut telling you? And so a lot of times we were on the same page, you know what I'm saying, when it came to even her health. Visit www.craigthewriterstewart.com and click the shop button to purchase your merchandise today. Liquid Blends is where real wellness starts from the inside out. They've blended nature's most powerful ingredients into one uncompromising line of liquid supplements designed for results you can feel. Soursop helps support healthy blood pressure levels and calms inflammation throughout the body, easing joint discomfort linked to arthritis, fibromyalgia, and nerve-related conditions. By reducing internal stress, it also supports immune balance, promotes cellular health, and helps with night sweats, so your body can rest, recover, and protect itself. Their black seed bitters are a metabolic powerhouse, helping support healthy blood sugar balance and maintain A1C levels already within a normal range, especially for those managing glucose concerns. Visit liquidblends.com. Use promo code Craig the Writer. My mother did not want to have a funeral. She wanted to be cremated. And for me, I think that was the best thing because funerals kind of
The worst.
delay things, it prolongs things. It was very hard for me to pick up that phone to call the insurance company to say, hi, I was calling because my mom passed and I need to call, I'm calling about her life insurance policy. And then to have them ask me, what was the cause of death? What was the time of death? What was the date? It's almost like you're reliving it enough
All over.
saying that. And then I got to go and pick out a coffin?
No.
And then we got to get the car, and then we got to open up the ground, and then we
decide on a time to have a funeral.
That part.
Because in my mind,
who could ride in the car?
Who gonna ride in the car?
Exactly.
Who's gonna cater the food?
Yes.
And that it's just way too much. And I remember having to go to the bank to close her account. I've always had her bank account numbers and things like that. I always had that. But she also had listed me down as the beneficiary on the account, which is very important to have that done. But for some reason, I was not listed. But because I knew her bank account, PIN numbers, and things like that, I was able to withdraw that money, right? Because they'll put that money in probate, and you'll never even get it.
You'll never
touch
it.
Right, and I had a checkbook for the other account, and I kindly wrote myself a check from one account, from her one account to myself. And then I just took care of things. I was able to take care of the funeral. I gave my brother part of the money, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. But it's just so many steps to it while you're trying to carry this grief. And so I understand how and why some people collapse under grief. But, you know, for me, it was just like I had to just kind of keep going.
I heard a quote that says that grief is love with nowhere to go. That love used to flow to a person, and now that space is vacant, grief is what you feel.
Wow. Wow. Grief is love with nowhere to go.
I may be jumping ahead of whatever question you may have, but what I realized, having all the siblings, when she did die, in like, it wasn't 24 hours, and we're discussing caskets.
Yeah.
Why? You know, and people that are very close to me were asking, have you gotten into it with your siblings yet? And I'm like, no, not yet. But, you know, the 2 hours had passed, and it was full blown, all the things.
Really?
And I chickened out, and I brought my ass back to Atlanta.
Yeah.
For 6 days.
So you bumped heads with your siblings too?
Sibling, my mother's sister.
Aunts, uncles, or
I mean,
family.
it could have been something. It was the colored dress she gonna wear.
Really?
Yes.
Is she gonna be buried next to my grandma?
Yes.
What else? I mean.
But you know, I think when that happens, I don't even really think that it's about the dress, the color of the dress, where she gonna be buried. I think it's people not knowing what to do with their grief.
Right.
Their sorrow. And you know what I mean? It's almost like misdirected
because
grief.
I said some things that I had to go back after my 6-day stint and apologize.
Right.
I did.
Yeah.
Like, because I went there.
But what were y'all getting into it about? He said it was the dress and where.
Okay.
Bank account.
So, sorry, Poochie, my youngest sister.
Go
I
ahead.
don't do funerals. I don't look at. I never saw my father. I could have had an opportunity to see my father dead, my grandmothers, anybody that's been close to me. I've never seen what they look like dead because I don't look at the bodies.
Yeah.
I didn't even see my mother dead
I didn't either.
or my father.
I saw my mom because
I
the
did not.
crematory had to send me a photo for me to identify. And I remember when I opened up that email, I was just,
Yeah.
and in the body of the email, it said, and I don't remember exactly
Caution.
the word. It said something like caution, beware, or
Yeah.
whatever, warning.
Yeah.
The image of the deceased is in
Wow.
this attachment, whatever it said. And I clicked on it, and there she was. And she was like, it was almost like it was from the morgue.
Yeah.
And it was like a white sheet on her. And so it was like covered all around to her neck, and I could just see her head.
Face.
Yeah, her face. And her eyes were closed.
But I take it back. I did see her dead because when she died, we were all there. And I'd never touched a dead person before, but I kissed my mother.
Yeah.
They just
But what
said,
we-
Ryan, she looks pretty. I said, thank you. That's all
That's
I need.
right.
Yeah.
But my sister Poochie, bless her heart, you know, I do florals, and I literally wanted to do the biggest tribute that I could ever imagine doing for my mother. I literally wanted, I think it was, 25 dozen on each side of her and 50 dozen roses on her casket.
Right.
I did. Couldn't do it because you can't open a casket with 50
all of those
dozen
flowers on it.
roses.
Roses on top, yeah.
And me and my sister
Got into it.
Because
you wanted to have the flowers on the casket, but she wanted to be able to view the body.
Absolutely. And I didn't, you know, and that was like maybe the first little back. I don't know if you consider it an argument or not, but it was a strong back and forth on my end.
A strong back and forth.
Yeah.
I have one brother I haven't talked to.
Since your mom passed.
Like, it's been a couple texts. That's about it.
My God, Jesus.
But he showed out at the funeral, and like even one of my aunts, she waited for like a month to pass, and she was like, "So let's talk about your brother's speech." And I was like, "Oh, okay, let's talk about it." And so,
well, what was he saying in the speech? Was he kind of like, you don't have to go into specifics, but was he like saying like negative things about the family and the process leading up to the funeral?
No way.
About the family.
In the speech?
At the funeral.
At her funeral.
Again, I think sometimes people don't know what to do with that grief, that sadness, that anger. Because sometimes they're angry that the person is gone too. You know what I'm
You
saying?
have to remember it's so many different points of views, I guess, and it's coming from all these things, and you just want it to be a smooth operation, and it just is not because it's such that person, and then it's all these other things and people. Like, sorry, but I didn't want 1,000 pictures of my mother on a program. So me and the other sister, it was a...
Right, so you got into it with one person about the
was a
flowers,
strong
and now
back
you're
and
arguing about
forth,
the flowers.
Because I said, I do not want all of these pictures of my mother on a trifold thing. I just did not. But then I had to realize it's not just me, but that was still my thing. So don't ask me my point of view on my mother's program for her funeral.
Right, because you didn't want input.
Because I didn't want
And
all
the
of
thing
that.
that's interesting, and I was kind of wrestling as you were sitting here talking about how much I was going to share about my own sister. I have not spoken to my sister since my mom passed, which was October of 2024. So this October will be 2 years.
2 years.
But prior to that, we hadn't spoken in 3 years.
Oh, wow.
And she and I stopped speaking because she had stopped speaking to my mom. And she was kind of like the default caretaker for my mom initially. And then, so she was taking my mom back and forth to dialysis, and she would take her to her doctor's appointments. At the time, my brother was still strung out on drugs, so he was no help. I was living here. And I was taking care of my mom, so like making sure I was taking care of like, the house has been paid off, but I was taking care of like the utilities and the internet bill and making sure she had food and that kind of thing. And so my sister didn't work, and so she was the one taking her to dialysis. And it got to a point that she obviously didn't want to take my mom to dialysis anymore, but she never communicated it. She never said it to me. She never said it to my mom. She just stopped showing up. And then that led to my mom driving herself back and forth to dialysis. And that led to me going home to take the car keys and arranging transportation to pick her up to take her back and forth to dialysis. And so we had stopped speaking, and she hadn't spoken to my mom in 3 years. So when my mom passed, they hadn't talked. And so I, a lot of times, think about the grief that my sister
is experiencing,
may be carrying because of that. And so the reason that I went to that part of the story too is because my mom had a will, and she had two wills. So the initial will, it was a will where she wanted everything to be split between me and my sister and brother. My sister's the oldest, my brother's in the middle, and then it's me. And so it was the life insurance, and then it was going to be whatever we were going to do with. My mom had two houses. The one that she lived in, the one that I grew up in, and then it was a different house. But she ended up selling one of the houses. But in the initial will, it was like we would do what we wanted to do with that house, whether we were going to sell it or keep it going, but we were supposed to split the proceeds. But she ended up creating another will because she sold that first house. And then because my sister hadn't spoken to her in 3 years, or at the time it had been 2 years, she said to me one day, my mother said to me, I think I'm going to change that will since she's not even talking to me, you know. And I said, and at the time, my brother's still using drugs. And so she said that to me, and I said, well, if you're going to do that, I need you to ponder on this too. Because in the first will, I was always the executor of the will, the first and the second. But in the first will, it was written in such a way that I was to make sure, my sister was supposed to get her portion, I would get my portion, and I was supposed to make sure that my brother's portion would be set to the side, and I would have the responsibility of making sure that his rent is paid and he had food in his place until his portion ran out. And so when she came to me and said, I think I'm going to change the will because my sister's not speaking, I said, well, here's the other thing. I said, I really don't want that responsibility. I live in another state. I don't know where my life is going to take me at the time of your death. You know, because she had done this years before. I said, I don't know where my life is going to take me. I may be traveling. I may be gone. I don't want to have to worry about somebody's rent the first of the month. And I said, I understand he's on drugs. I said, but Mom, you'll be gone. It won't matter what he does with that money. I said, so you should just make a decision. You're either going to give him the money or you're not. And so remember, I was flying her and my aunts back and forth down here while she was on dialysis and stuff like that. And one day she flew down and she handed me this envelope. It was a revised will.
Oh, Lord.
And I never looked at it. I put it in my little place with my papers and I just put it over there. And she told me she had changed it. And she told me that, you know, she was going to put everything, you know, for me, leave everything to me. And so when she passed, my brother was clean. And he had been clean for about a year. And because I knew that she would have wanted him to have that portion, and she had written that will in such a way that he wasn't supposed to get any money because he was still using drugs, I went on and gave him half because I knew she would have wanted him to have it. The other part of it with my sister, I just left it because I still hadn't even talked to her. And she didn't leave any provisions for that, and so I just left it the way that it was. Now they will know that my brother got half unless he told them. But I've never even had a conversation about it. But I remember being at my mom's house and having all of my family there. This was after she had passed, maybe a day or two later. And I had, you know, gotten food for everybody. And we were just kind of sitting around reminiscing and talking. And there were these whispers and rumbles that I heard that came back to me. That my sister and her oldest son were talking about the will. They had obviously gotten a copy of the will somehow, and the new will, because we all had a copy of the first will, but I was the only one who had a copy of the second will. But there was this conversation, and I think the conversation was somewhere along the lines of I had coerced her or gotten her to change the will. Wow. And I'm like, I didn't even know when she went to change it, you know. But the thing is, my Aunt Gloria knew. Because she had talked to my Aunt Gloria. The other thing that they didn't know was that my mother wanted to be cremated, but they hadn't had a relationship. My sister hadn't had a relationship with my mom in those 3 years, and neither did my sister's boys. So it was like nobody knew her wishes but me
you.
and my Aunt Gloria and some of my close friends because my mom was coming down here a lot. And so we would just talk about those kind of things openly. And I said, I'm glad that you're saying this in front of all these people.
Right.
Because I know that there are going to be people who are going to say, oh, she didn't ask for no cremation. You know, who made you, why did you decide to do that? So I was grateful that she had talked about those things, but it's really important to have those conversations with your parents, your loved ones, whoever they are, to know what to do, where those important papers are. I always knew where her papers were. I knew what insurance company to call. I knew what banks to go to. You know what I mean? So those things are important. And a lot of times in the Black community, we don't talk about the business.
No.
And a lot of times, at least in my experience, I think when I was growing up, my parents didn't really talk to me about it because they just don't want you to know like what they have and what they're leaving and whatever. But you don't have to go into specifics about what they're leaving. No. I just need to know where to look. And so like even my dad, I know where his papers are now. Like they're all in the same place. You know, so those are the kind of provisions that I think need to be in place.
Definitely. My mother has 3 best friends. And like when she passed away, I said, you know what? I'm going to call each one of them once a week and take turns. But then it became a little hard because halfway through the conversation, they'll be like, I miss your mother so much.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
you may not be
like, and I'm like trying to call just to be like, you know, hey, you know, blah, blah, blah. And they be like, I miss your mother so much. One, she starts crying every time. And I'm like, but I'm like, I know my mother would still want me to call.
Right.
And I'm like, but it's a little hard.
That's a great segue. So how would you want someone to show up for you in an incident like that, like when your mom passed? Because I think sometimes people have the best of intentions and they're just, you know, hey, I just wanted to check on you. I'll start, and so you can have an idea of where I'm going with this. For me, I don't need you to mention it every time you call me.
No.
You could just, you don't have to say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I just wanted to check on you because I know your mom. Like, you don't have to say that every time you call. For me, you could just say, hey, I was just thinking about you. What you doing today? Da da da. You know, just chat, general conversation. Hey, you free today? You want to go grab lunch? Like, you don't have to go into the nuts and bolts of what happened. Just take my mind off of it in other ways. So how would you say?
I think that I would want that as well. But I don't, when I think about people calling me, I didn't feel bombarded with a lot of that. I think people were just more so just checking on me just to make sure I was all right. I think a lot of people honestly were afraid for me. And so people were checking in because they knew how close we were. So I think a lot of people thought, I don't know if he can actually make it, or keep an eye on him, or let's just keep calling him to make sure that he's all right, because I have a feeling that he could go into another place.
Right.
And so that was the reason for a lot of that calling. Just like, okay, make sure he's all right. And I was all right. And I appreciate everyone doing that. I do think that in that time, and I'll even say even up till now, I don't talk to people as much as I used to.
About her, just period.
Just in general. And I used to be one of those people that would go out, talk to people and things like that. And
You mean you're not as social? You're not as gregarious
as I used to be. And I do miss that. And there are times where I think I want to call somebody. I want to do this. So anyone who's watching this, I haven't forgotten about you.
Right.
I do miss my people. I do miss my family and things like that. But I think I just got to this place where I needed so much me time that I just needed to think. And I think probably I got trapped in that place where I'm like, I just need to think.
And I think for me, to that point, and remember what you were going to say, for me, it was almost like, because I have like this bright personality, effervescent personality. For me, it felt like my light dimmed just a little. And I think that was why I was traveling too. Like my friend Angela was like, well, I think all of this traveling that you're doing is just like you're trying to escape and avoid the grief. And I think that was part of it, but I also think that it was me, because losing my mom brought death forward for me. It made me start thinking about my own death, how much longer I have to live on the planet, all of the things that I want to do, see, feel, touch, experience. You know what I'm saying? So I think that was why the traveling kind of like jump started too. And not even just in terms of travel, but like I want to maximize my time here.
Right.
You know what I mean? I try to spend more time with my people now, like my friends, my network, because what I know to be true is all the time you have left is all the time you have left.
That's it.
That's all you have.
Yeah.
Whatever's left is all that's left.
Right.
You can't add on to it.
Right.
Yeah.
What it is.
And so like so for me, I think the message that I try to send people is, you know, you have no time to be working a job that you hate.
That's right.
I know everybody needs a job. I know everybody needs an income, but you have no time to be working and staying on a job that you despise going to. You have no time staying in a relationship that you don't, that doesn't serve you.
That's dead end.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you have to maximize your time while you're here, because I would hate to get to the end of my life and then look back and realize, damn, I wasted so much time on that job. I wasted so much time in those friendships. I wasted so much time being afraid to travel by myself, afraid to go to eat food at a new restaurant or new cuisine because I was scared to try things. Like, I don't want to be that person.
No.
But what were you going to say?
I will say, I think it was probably like 2 months after she passed. I said, you know, I'm going to go out. So I went Sunday Fun Day. And one of our mutual friends, we were in Blake's, and I had a drink in my hand. He just came over. He said, honestly, I didn't know how to reach out to you, but I'm so sorry about your mom. Now, mind you, it's Sunday Fun Day.
And you having your drink.
It took me, I put my drink down, walked to my car, and drove home.
And drove home.
And drove home because I was like, my whole mood changed.
Yeah.
But then I had another friend say that same thing to me where they said, I really didn't know what to do. Like, should I text you? Should I call you? You know, should I say anything? And I'm like, I get it, but you know, you got to do what's best for you.
Yeah. But that's what makes it hard too, is because some people do too much and some people don't do enough.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Go ahead.
So I have lost and gained friends.
Yeah.
During the process of my mother's death. And the influx of phone calls and all that stuff happened 2, 3, 4 months later. And a lot of people would not know what to say, what to do, and all the things. But one of the most beautiful things that happened in the year that she had died, Coco, who you've known and you've met, at my mother's repast, Harry Ann gave out.
Who is Harry? He's saying Harry Ann, like I know who that is.
One of
Who
the
is Harry
people
Ann?
that my grandmother raised.
Okay.
That one of the 3 girls.
Yeah.
And she gave out these seeds, plants.
Like, plant seeds.
To plant a flower. And Coco had, she planted hers. And on the year anniversary, she
gave it to you, the flower. She brought you the plant. Oh, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
That was really nice.
Yeah.
I have one of my mother's best friends. She said from the funeral she got one of the plant. Every time I talk to her, she'd be like, "It's still flourishing over here. It's still flourishing." I'm like,
and you know, and I think that for me, I had to try to manage my own grief.
Yes.
Because like my Aunt Gloria and my brother, they would call me every time they had a bad day. And they would call me and they'd be crying, like you said, your mom's friend. They would call my Aunt Gloria every single time she called. She would say, "Oh, she wasn't just my sister, she was my best friend." And then the tears were coming. And it could potentially be a day where I'm having a great day.
Yes.
And I don't want to feel sad today.
That's it.
You know what I mean? And so I found myself, and I know she's going to see this, she watches everything. I found myself avoiding not only her calls and texts, but my brothers as well.
And Facebook.
Yes, because they would call, and I'm just like, well, what am I going to do with that? Like, I'm trying to manage my own. And so it just made it kind of challenging for me.
Yeah. I had something, similar. One of the sisters, and you know how I am about my siblings, but she'll say how much she misses Madia on a whatever day. And I'm like on the other side of the earth, and I'm looking at Facebook, and I'm like, wait, girl, I'm having fun over here. And I don't want to think about, you know, how, you know.
Because those waves of grief, they just come. Like, at the most inopportune time.
It is rough.
Yeah.
You know.
I was going to say there have been times I was on the aircraft just working and something like hit me. And before I knew it, I was walking down the aisle, like serving people, and just tears started to form. And I had to just go to the lavatory for a second, like, ooh.
Did anybody see you crying?
I'm sure like a couple of people, I don't think any of my coworkers did, but I know like a couple of passengers did, but I just kind of skirted out of there, went there, kind of pulled it back together, and then walked back out. But it comes.
It does.
Yeah.
It's a friend of mine just lost her mother, and I told her it hurts, and it hurts for a long time, but each day
gets better.
It does get better each day, but there's always going to be something missing.
Yeah, there's always a vacancy.
There's always something missing.
My mother passed away a little over a year ago, which sounds insane to say out loud. I lost my dad 4 years ago, and it is the strangest feeling of not having them here. The thing that you don't have any preparation for is how much it changes you. It takes away a certain kind of joy from your life, and you don't know in what spaces it does it, and until you're in them. I read something the other day which I thought was really beautiful. Grief is like glitter. I don't know about you, but I hate glitter.
Fucking despise glitter.
It's lovely at first in small doses, but like grief, you don't know when it's coming, you don't know how much of it's going to be there, but like glitter gets everywhere.
And you find it.
And you find it everywhere, and it comes in doses, and you're overwhelmed, and you hate it, and you want to get it off, and you don't know how to, but it's there. And then over time, you take a shower, and some of the glitter goes away, but it's still there, and you're annoyed, and you're sad, and you want it off, and you want it to be different, and you don't want the glitter there anymore. And then days pass, and weeks pass, and months pass. And then someday, you're in your closet, and you pull out a coat or a jacket, and a bit of glitter falls on your hand, and you get sad.
Yeah.
Because you remember what that glitter means.
Yeah.
But it's not as heavy as it was before, and it's not as messy as it was before. It's not as much, but it's still there, and you know it. And then a year passes, and you're out with your friends, and someone says you have a piece of glitter on your face. And instead of getting angry, and instead of getting sad, you have a quiet moment to yourself of, yeah, the glitter's not going to go away. But it's not supposed to. It's part of you now. It reminds you that there was something worth getting sad and mad and angry about. It reminds you that sometimes, even though it's so fucking annoying, glitter's really pretty. And it shines in the sun. And it really makes the outfit look a little bit better. It makes you stand a little bit taller because you want people to see it shine and sparkle on you. Even though it is annoying at times, and sometimes it gets in your eye. But you get it out, you move on, you remain shiny. It's just a remembrance of a lot of love.
Somebody said, this is not a club you want to be a part of.
It's not.
It's not.
And so, like, one of the
big, Ryan.
right. And so that
Yes.
fear that I used to have leading up to my mom passing, that was my biggest fear. That has been
Mine too,
replaced
really.
now with
Wow.
my fear now has become for my friends who still have their moms.
Mothers, yeah.
I'm afraid for them
'Cause
now
you'll get
because
phone
I know what
calls.
that feels like.
Because you'll get phone calls from them
Yeah.
saying all the things that have happened.
And the thing too is, I remember when my mom passed, it made me, like I was saying earlier, it made me think about all of the people that I know who lost their moms when they were really young. But I remember in particular, I had to call my friend Felicia because her mom had passed. Her mom was in her 60s. And so I don't know how old we were at the time, but it probably was 20 years ago. And so at that point, I was probably not 30 or maybe just 30. And so even though I called Felicia and said, hey, I'm sorry to hear about your mom, I didn't do the follow through. I didn't do the follow up. And it's in those weeks after the person passes that the people need you the most. And not necessarily to call them and say, hey, how you feeling today?
No.
Just to pick up the phone and say, hey, you have plans today? Let's go grab lunch. And, you know, just that you don't have to mention it every single time. But I actually had to call Felicia and I apologized after I lost my mom. I said, I don't think I was there enough for you. And I said, and I'm sorry. I said, because, yeah, I called you and said, you know, I offered my condolences, but I don't think I spent enough time with you, checked on you, that kind of thing. And she said, no, you didn't. She said, but I mean, I understand now, you know what I mean? But it was one of those things that I had to acknowledge.
It's a terrible club to be a part of, but anybody who has lost their mom understands what it means to be a part of this club. And people who have not lost their mother don't understand until it happens to them the insanity that you feel. You just won't get it. Your entire universe has been ripped to shreds. You are hurtling through time and space. It's literally like you are, you're untethered. You've lost your tether to the earth, and you are just flying around, and you're hoping somebody grabs the string and pulls you down. But that is like, it doesn't happen. The grounding that happens takes years. It takes years. Years. I'm at year 3.
Just about, not even fully.
With it being so, like your mother passing, do you look at death differently now?
Absolutely.
I do.
I look at death, life, friendship, relationships. It's caused a shift in me.
Absolutely.
Like I'm so selective now.
In all the
even
things.
in dating. Like this one stays on me about getting back out there to date and try to experience. But like I think of like the way that I see the world now, I see it as just a bunch of souls moving through the world. And I want to be careful with your soul.
Yes.
And I need you to be careful with
With
mine.
mine.
The way that
Absolutely.
we mishandle people, I think that if we thought more about people on a soul level,
yes,
we wouldn't be so deceptive and all this cheating and these
No.
side pieces and then,
No.
like I can't deal with that. I need to operate in integrity and integrity only. And so it's made dating challenging for me. But more than anything, I think about my own mortality and how much time I have left. I'm not thinking about it constantly, but it makes me think like to want to live more fervently.
That's right.
Like, what are the things that you want to
Daily.
accomplish? Yes.
Yeah.
Weekly,
do those things
monthly,
that you want to
yearly.
do. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Be responsible, but don't be sitting there thinking, oh, I can't take that trip because I need to hold on to this money. Because you hold on
That
to the money
may
for
not
what?
be there. You may not be here.
Yeah, you may not even be here to
You may
spend that
not-
money. You
That's
understand what I'm
exactly.
saying?
You're like,
So
dang
be
it,
responsible.
don't take me out. I
Yeah,
need
be
to spend my
responsible,
money.
but do the things that you want
Wanna
to do.
do.
You know what I
You
mean?
seen?
Yeah.
Have you seen our president? Somebody could bomb us in a
Oh
heartbeat.
my God! Come on, somebody.
Right.
So, are there things that you've done, like rituals that maybe you've adopted since your mom has passed to like honor her? So, for example, my friend Elliot said to me, like coming up on that first year when my mom passed, he said, "Well, what do you think you're gonna do for her birthday or do on her birthday?" I said, "I don't know. I'll probably just be home and just whatever." And he said, "Well," because he lost his mom many years ago. I didn't know him at the time. And he said, I tend to do things that to honor her, something that would honor her. He said, so just think of something. And so my mom loved a pedicure.
Oh, the green.
So, yes. So, like when my mom, on her birthday, I went to get a pedicure. And I had my toenails painted green. No, I don't normally paint my toenails.
Right.
But I painted them green, and it was the same shade of green that she had on her toes when she passed.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something I'm going to do every year.
Absolutely.
And then my friend Elliot also, because he was one of the people that Ryan was one of those people that would come to my house, and we would just have brunch, and we would spend time with my mom, and they would all do things for her to give me a break too. But Elliot had gotten her like these slippers, these fluffy slippers, and she never wore them because they were kind of weighted. And I think she was kind of nervous to walk because they're kind of heavy on my feet, right? And so, but I kept those. And so I wear them around the house sometimes.
Yeah.
And you can clearly tell that they're women's slippers.
Right.
They're women's slippers, but I will wear those slippers, because one of them, they leopard.
See.
But I wear those around the house sometimes, you know what I'm saying? So are there things that you do with her in mind? And it may not be like on an anniversary or anything like that, but
I don't know yet. I mean, because her birthday and Mother's Day are so close together.
Yeah.
And, just a year, I have no idea. My mother loved music.
Yeah.
Maybe I go buy a vinyl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a vinyl collection, so
Yeah.
maybe something like that. I don't know.
I was going to say, I'm not a big drinker, but every now and then I'll have a glass of wine for us.
Okay.
She loved wine. Or certain holidays, I'll cook a big meal because she loved to cook. And so I'll cook in honor of her. So.
Greg, anything for you?
Everything. Like all day, every day. Like I make sure that I'm really presentable when I leave the house because my mother was that girl. She always dressed. always wore like her diamonds and all the things.
Oh, so is that why you walk around with all these diamonds all the time?
Well, she had really good jewelry, and she always just looked amazing. She was always nice to people. So if I'm really nice to you, it's because of my mother.
That's the reason you're nice to me?
Absolutely.
But you know what? I say that, and I've tried to. That's where I want to be too. And
Yes.
so,
what's that?
I want to be kinder. I think I'm nice to
Kinder,
people,
yeah.
but I want to be a kinder person, the way that she was, because she loved people. And sometimes, you know, I think I have a lot of patience, but sometimes it will get a little thin, and sometimes, you know, I'll kind of remove myself from a situation just to not be ugly to someone, because I don't think I'm an ugly person. But at the same time, I still want to be more empathetic towards people, you know, just a kinder person, because that's who she would want me to be. That's who she was. Everyone loved it. There wasn't anyone who met her who was a stranger to her. So I want to be that way with people too. So.
Come on out. Come on out. Craig, come the fuck on out. You came through with this goddamn book. Let me tell y'all something. I ain't read no damn book in I don't know how long, but somehow Craig turned a ratchet bitch into a reader, bitch. Damn, my tongue real slippery. Bitch can't even talk, but bitch, I can read. Come on out. Anyway, by the time I got done with this damn book, bitch, I felt like I need to go sit on my back porch and smoke me a long cigarette while wearing a old nasty Caucasian damn witness protection wig, bitch. When I tell you he dropping 10 here, he talk about Tyler Perry, Brandy, bitch. Oh, girl, this book had my coochie on hard, had my coochie lips on blue, had me hot and moist like a KFC biscuit, bitch. Oh, Jesus, girl. By the time I got done, y'all, I felt like a boss, bitch. You made me want to go out and do things with my goddamn life, bitch. He talk about damn heartbreak, everything, girl. Come on out. I was on an emotional roller coaster, Craig. Come on out. Jesus.
I know for me, like that first Mother's Day was different. And I had heard people say that before. And I was like, oh, I want to hear your story for sure, because I know your story. But that first Mother's Day was just kind of different for me. And I don't remember what I did that day. I may have been in the house. But I just remember thinking like, oh, so this is what it's like to see everybody else celebrating Mother's Day and you not celebrating Mother's Day. But I remember distinctly I only have 3 aunts left. My grandmother had 13 kids and there's 3 of them left. I remember each of them called me. Like they'll call, hey, how you doing today? You know what I'm saying? And then a couple of my cousins did send text messages, you know, that kind of thing. And then plenty of my friends did too. So that was different. And then I think that first Christmas was very different for me. And so remember, my mom passed October 4th of 2024. So that first Thanksgiving was different. I don't usually go home for Thanksgiving because I would bring her here for Thanksgiving. And so, in fact, a few Thanksgivings before they had all come down. But I had rented a house back home because I wanted everybody to be together. Nobody wanted to host it, and everybody kept saying they didn't have a house big enough for everybody. So I remember getting a house, and so that everybody could come just to be. And I wanted to be closer to family. That was the first time that I had went home. I had gone home after she passed. So it felt different going to Baltimore. And because I didn't stay at my dad's house and I didn't stay at my childhood house because I had rented this house. So I landed, went to that house, and I stayed there, and then I left. So I never even went to, you know what I mean? So kind of like you said, you didn't go to Roanoke. So like for me, it was just kind of, it was like, damn, this is the first time I've ever come to Baltimore and not seen my mother, talked to my mother, or gone to the house. So it just felt really, really eerie.
Yeah.
So your first Mother's Day without your mom?
Yeah, I didn't for like 2 or 3 days. Didn't want to get out of bed, and I had to because people were wanting arrangements. They wanted floral arrangements
For Mother's Day.
For Mother's Day,
Yeah.
so I had to get up and be productive. So I got like this huge. It was, I don't know, it was big. It was a heart shaped styrofoam that you could do whatever florals or whatever. And I remember just making the prettiest arrangement for her because it would have been her first Mother's Day that I didn't get to see her and give her all the things that I would give her. But I find myself doing a lot of things in her honor and through my florals and even my caftans. I think I've shared with you, like, I remember naming one of them Muddia, you know, in her honor. Because, again, she was always that girl that loved all the frilly things. She was a girly girl. So, but I just, you know, grief for me has been obviously really sad, but there have also been a lot of days where I've been okay with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But in those moments when it's not okay, I can't be productive. Like, I'm just like stuck.
Right.
And when you think those moments are done,
Yeah.
they're not.
Right.
Because I've had times where it was worse than before she died. And during that period of her being, you know, going through the process of her death, even going 2 years going in, you
Right.
know, because you'll be just fine.
Right.
And then, like you said, then all of a sudden,
out of nowhere.
you're like crying in public.
Right. A certain song could come on.
What?
Certain songs have come on for me, and I'll just be in
you're
tears.
like pulling over in traffic.
Yeah, yeah.
I told him, like, I was doing some extra work with this production, and there was an extra on the set, and she wore the same perfume, and she walked by me, and I just, like, in that moment started to tear up, and I looked at her, and she's like, "What's wrong?" And I said, "My mother wore that perfume," and she's like, "I love this perfume." And she started to ask about it. I was like, she's not here anymore. I said, "But I didn't mean to look at you that way.
Right.
It just put me in a moment."
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and so yeah, you a lot of, and you don't even realize it sometimes until, like you said, a song or something.
But I think back to, like, for me, I think about that year that she lived with me before she went back home, because it was the hardest year of my life. And all of the things that I've ever done in terms of me writing a stage play and it selling out, but then it flopping, and then me trying to get the first book off the ground and having $20 to my name and flying out of town to do a book signing. It was just one of those things where taking care of her was the hardest thing I had ever done in my life. And so in terms of caretaking, I was up, because when she moved here to Atlanta, it was 5:30 in the morning. She had to be at dialysis. And it was like a 3-4 hour process. So she would call me around 9:30 or so. And it was time for me to pick her up. And like, I was sleep deprived. And I think I was really grieving during all of that time. And it was just so hard. I was sleep deprived. I was grieving. I was frustrated. It was just so many things that I was feeling at the time that when she passed, and this is the unspoken piece, especially if you've been a caretaker, that a lot of people don't say out loud, is when she passed, as much as I did not want her to go, I was also glad to be able to have her be free. And I was glad to be free of the responsibility. Of course, I still want my mother here, but I want her here healthy, and not with the health conditions and just all of that, because it was taxing on her and me.
Right.
And I think what contributes to the depression sometimes of a person who needs care,
right,
is that they're relying on people, that they can't do it themselves, and they feel like a burden, like you mentioned earlier.
Right.
But I believe that, so when she passed, I was still grieving and still, or having those moments where I grieved. But I think I had done the majority of it while she was still here.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? While I was taking care of her. Because it was almost like a burden had lifted.
Yeah.
And it shifted from this heaviness of stress and frustration and of caretaking. And it transferred or became like this sadness, at having lost her.
And I will say the blessing for me, that I never had to witness that. It was one of those things. Go through all of that. It was something first starting off, something as small as her thinking that she had sinus, or then her going to the emergency room. But then that whole weekend, I mean, she was fine. It's just kind of like, even when I spoke to her throughout the weekend, she was fine. And she, I never witnessed, her suffering. And then all of a sudden, bam, she was gone. And so I will say that that I didn't have to go through that, because that would have been heartbreaking for me to see her in that way, whereas a lot of people saw that happen. I've seen, or are seeing it now. And so I was fortunate not to see that. The unfortunate part is that my mom is not here, and that I think she was gone too soon.
Like it was yesterday.
You can see it like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
What was your time lapse like? How long from when she initially got sick until when she passed?
Well, his mom, it was COVID.
It was a week.
Just 1 week.
It was just 1 week.
And she was supposed to come home on a Tuesday.
She was supposed to come home on a Tuesday, and
she passed on a Monday.
I never saw my mother sick. I never saw her ill.
Right.
It wasn't until like later on I spoke to my stepfather, and he said, I remember when she went to the hospital that night. He said, I walked in and I looked at her, and he said, my heart broke. He said, because I could see that something was wrong with her. He said, over that week, he said, she looked dehydrated. She looked tired. She looked drained. She looked sick. And he said, we thought that the medicine that had been prescribed to her from that urgent care was going to work. And he said, I walked in and he said, something's wrong. We need to go to the emergency room. And so they went there, and when she called me, I thought, because I didn't even realize, that it had gotten that bad over the past few days, because she never said anything. She never would. And I think that she thought that the antibiotics were probably going to help. But then when she called me and she said, I'm just heading to the hospital. And she called me the whole time and she said, this is what happened. This is okay. Flu, pneumonia. And those were those COVID symptoms at the time. And so nobody...
So did we know it was called COVID at this point?
What month was it? What month was it?
This was in March. So
March 2020.
Right as the pandemic was starting, yeah.
It would have been starting this week or next week, I should say. Wow. And so they didn't have all of those tests then.
Right.
But, at the time, with talking to my stepfather, they weren't letting anyone visit her in the room. Yeah. She wasn't having visitors. They couldn't have any. He was the only one who was able to see her that weekend, and he had to wear a mask and a gown to see her. And he even told me that there were times where he went to the hospital and her food was sitting outside of the room. Nurses hadn't even taken it in the room, and he had gotten to it with nurses because she hadn't eaten, and he was pissed about that, and so I don't even think I realized how bad COVID, or anyone had realized how bad COVID was at that time. But the week that she passed, that was the week that everything shut down. So the schools shut down in Virginia. Restaurants. I remember we had a hard time with even putting the service together, because at the time we had to wait for the diocese to say how many people could be in the church. And then they said 50 could be here. And then they came back and said, well, I think maybe 20 to 25 could only be in the church. And so it was kind of like, well, my mom knows far more than that. What are we supposed to do with that? But they had the service. And then we were going to have her second service in Norfolk, but then churches closed in Norfolk, so we couldn't have it there. So we had to have the graveside service. And then I remember that week, that's when everything shut down in Atlanta. And so schools, everything. And at the time that she went into the hospital that week, I was in a show. The show had just opened up. And so we opened up that weekend. And then she passed that following week, and they shut the show down. And I remember, also our director coming in and saying, when we open up that weekend, I don't want you to think that, this show didn't sell out well, or, he said...
It was the effects of COVID.
It was the effects of COVID.
What was going on?
And I remember, there was a moment, for the second act or something like that, they couldn't bring the house lights back down, and we looked into the audience, and it was just...
Empty.
And it was I'd never seen a theater look like that before. And so, I still didn't think that COVID was
going to be what it became.
What it became. And then when she passed, I still don't think I wasn't even thinking COVID, because I was still like, well, what the hell is COVID?
What is it?
Yeah.
I mean, we had heard, I didn't know anyone who had passed from it.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
saw it on the news and you heard people talk about like this many
People
deaths.
happening someplace
Somewhere
else. Yeah.
You know, but no one that you knew. And so it's kind of like when everything shut down after she passed, I think that's when it hit like, oh, this is serious. And then a few weeks later, my father got it, and then he was in the hospital.
So
and then
did
my
that create like a trauma for you where you were nervous?
It did, because at that point in time, I was like, I got really nervous, and that's when I was like, God, please don't tell me you're gonna take my dad too. So he pulled through, and he was, you know, he made it through, and my stepmother went to the hospital. She got it too. They both had it. And so for a while, they weren't even able to be in the same house until they both recovered. And so it's just crazy. But everything just started happening like that. And everything was unexpected. You didn't know what was going to happen. Right. But it has made me more sensitive to things like this morning. No, yesterday morning, my stepmother called me. She called me early in the morning, and it scared the shit out of me. She just wanted to ask me a question about something else, because all I remember is getting a call about my mom. And so I just thought, don't call me with more news like that.
Early in the morning, especially.
Early in the morning, because I just talked to him the day before. So I was just like, so those are the little things now that kind of like trigger little things. You're kind of like these early phone calls, or just someone you may not have heard from in a while, and you get a call, and it's kind of like,
what's wrong?
What is this? You know, so
yeah. I understand. I can recognize I relate to that, because again, like with my Aunt Gloria, like she would call me, like my mom would be in and out of the hospital with different things, and my Aunt Gloria didn't really call me much at this time. She would send me a text to say, hey, how you doing? What's going on? Da, da, da. But then when she started calling me, and she'd be like, hey, what's up? I'm like, what are you calling me for? Get to it. Like, don't call here pausing and all that shit. What are you calling me for? Is it serious or not? Yeah. Oh no, I said, okay, well listen, moving forward, get to the point. Or text me. If you just call, if you ain't calling for nothing, send me a text.
Because we have lived through trauma.
That's it. Yeah. Don't call me unless it is serious.
Right.
So I know you said you hadn't talked to your stepdad a whole lot, or haven't gone back to see him.
I haven't got back to see him. I talked to him this week. So I don't talk to him as much as I used to, but
do you think you'll ever have a conversation with him about what his wishes were versus yours, just to kind of smooth it over, and just for a mental health thing for him?
Well, I will say this. Us not talking is not, you know, because of that, because I still love him to death. And I don't think that has
caused a shift.
I just think that the death has caused a shift. Yeah. I think that we're the closest thing to her. And so I think we both kind of trigger it.
For each other. And so you're kind of distancing yourself from each other.
So there's a distance there. So it's kind of like, if I talk to him, I will say, as much as after we talk for a while, and, you know, it's kind of like things are lighting up a little bit on the phone, but always that initial start is kind of like so heavy.
And the level of seriousness.
And the seriousness.
Right.
And so,
because the thing that's being unspoken is that she's not there.
She's not there. And so she was the tie for both of us. And so it's kind of like, I adore him, and I know he adores me, and that will never, ever, ever change. I will always be his son, and he will always be my other dad. But I think that we are triggers for each other, and that's what we have to get past, because it's kind of like, even when I think about him, sometimes I tear up, and things that he goes through, I tear up. And so it's, even with my little sister, they're triggers, they're little things. And so she not so much as him, though, because I was around him so much. And so, but we're fine in that way. I understood where he was coming from, and he understood where I was coming from. So there was never
any contention about that.
No hostility there or anything. I don't think he was ever like just furious, upset with me about that. But I think it was just one of those things where he felt at the end. I think he had to respect those wishes, because I think he felt this is this kid's mom. This man's mom. So I can't. I have to, like, she was my wife, and I love her more than anything.
But she was his mom.
This is his mom.
Yeah.
And so I think he realized that. So for him to say afterwards, when I said, I think she should be here, because I waited a moment before even going there with that, because I was with him for days before I even went back and said, you know what, this is what I think it should be. And I think he thought about it, and then he said, you know what?
Yeah.
And this is what it will be.
Right. I remember, one of the things that losing my mom has done for me too is made me even more empathetic. So I have an ex that we had been together in 20 years. At that time, it had been 20. How many years? Yes, it had been like 20 or 21 years since we've been apart. So much so that we sometimes see each other at the gym, and he wouldn't even speak, right? He wouldn't even speak. But then I learned through the grapevine that his mom passed. I picked up the phone and called him. This man doesn't even speak to me in the gym. Like, I see him in the gym. And the reason why, I think I have to give some context, I think the reason why he doesn't speak to me in the gym, and this is just me thinking, so just in case you hear this, I don't think that he ever really forgave me for breaking his heart.
The breakup.
For breaking his heart.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't intentional, but that's what happened. And so I found out that his mom passed, and I got his number from a mutual friend, and I called him, and I said, I just learned that your mom passed. And I adored his mom, and she adored me. But the thing is, I understood the gravity of losing your mom. And it had only been like maybe 4 or 5 months or something, or I don't know how long it had been, but I called him and I said, listen, I couldn't send you a text. And I said, I understand that, you don't have much conversation, or we don't see each other. We don't speak when we see each other. I said, but I couldn't just send you a text. I had to pick up the phone to call you to express my condolences. What you want to say?
I was just going to say, I think that even through death, I remember being in Vegas on my 45th birthday. I remember looking around the room, and there was like 8 of us, and each and every last one of us had lost our dads.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking about that. Maybe the other 7 didn't think about it, but I did. And I think that even through and in death, you learn to appreciate life so much more.
For sure.
And you do it in a manner, in a way in which you want to honor and all the things. But even outside of honoring, you want to go and do things to lift the burdens of being sad. And just take it all the way to the other end of wherever.
And it's really taught me to appreciate the people that I still have, because again,
That's
we
right.
don't know if we're going to have another experience with those souls in the afterlife.
No.
So now, like I was saying earlier, that my biggest fear was losing my mom, and now it's for friends of mine who have not lost their moms yet. But the other fear that's probably equal in fear, I guess, is losing people that are close to me, like friends.
Ugh.
Like, I think about friends that are that I've known for 20 years or whatever. Like, I've never lost a friend close to me like that. And so I think about that and the weight of that and the sadness that that's going to bring. And then as the longer you live, the more you start to lose people.
Yeah.
And I that scares me.
Yeah.
Like losing people and growing old alone. In terms of friendships.
I know for me, it was like so much bad news kept happening to where I had to pray that I don't lose my empathy. Because
you thought you were going to become callous.
I was getting tired of hearing somebody passed away, or I didn't really have the energy to say, hey, how you doing? Sorry, like you said, condolences.
Yeah.
After a while, it was like bad news after bad news. You'd be like, who died now?
Yeah.
Like, especially not here, but we started seeing a lot of people pass
Our contemporaries,
away.
people are in our age group, people dropping dead of a heart attack or whatever.
I was gonna, and so it was crazy because, like I said, my father's, my aunt had passed.
Your father's sister.
My father's sister the week before, but then I had like my nephew passed like months before that. So it was kind of like, where's all of this death coming from? And so I often wonder, like, is that almost like I don't want to say a setup, but was it like something just kind of, when somebody passes, and he was on
like an omen to kind of get you prepared to say, okay,
this is what
this is coming down the pipeline.
Right. He was just
foreshadowing something.
He was just, I think, like 23 or 24 at the time when he passed, and that was like a freak accident how he passed. But then my aunt passed, and there was some issues with how she passed, and then when my mom hit, it was kind of like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
But
it starts to feel like it's closing in on you.
But a lot of people are going through it because I have friends who have lost their mom. So it's tough because a close friend of mine, her mother was like an aunt for me. And so she ended up passing as well. And so it seems like I feel like it's becoming more common because I know, like, over the past few years, I can name probably 4 or 5 people who have lost their moms.
Yes.
So it's kind of like,
and to be honest, it's because we're at that age bracket, where we're in the later part of our 40s or early 50s.
I know a lady back home. In 1 month, she's buried 2 sons. In 1 month, 2 weeks apart, brothers.
Yeah.
And like you say, it's inevitable, and to me it's too often.
Yeah.
And that's why I do my very best to each day just live the biggest best.
And you do a really good job of telling people that you love
them. Yes, you have to.
I think the one brother that doesn't talk to a lot of us he's still mad because he wanted my mother to go through this experiment. She didn't want to do it.
And so he's upset with you all for not supporting him and pushing her to do it.
That was part of his speech.
That was a part of what he said.
No way.
Oh, wow.
Oh, sure. Oh, my goodness.
And we don't have to share this, but I remember one of the things that you told me when you first called me when you were home was that he and your dad, he had kind of gotten really angry with your dad and said some really hurtful things to your dad. And I remember saying to you then, I was like, that's misdirected anger, And I know for a long time, every time I would talk to you, because you're really close to your dad, and I would say, how's your dad? Did you talk to your dad today? Because how long were your parents married? They were married for a very long time. And so I think about, your dad losing a spouse, you know what I'm saying? And he's an empty nester. It ain't like their kids still in the house. So it's like, what is his day-to-day like? You know what I mean? Like, what's your dad? That's why I always said to you, well, how's your dad? What is he doing today? Do you talk to him about how he's feeling?
We went on a road trip this weekend.
Y'all went on a road trip?
He went.
Oh, he went on one. Okay. Well, that's good because it's important. In terms of, just to kind of close things out, what would you say the biggest life lesson is that your mom gave you? And it may not be just one. It may be a couple things, but what are the first things that come to your mind when you think of the lessons that she taught you, the things that she imparted, or things that you may remember her most about?
For me, it was my mother's kindness. She was always kind. I remember she would feed anybody. I remember a lady stumbled up into our yard with 3 kids and was pregnant. And I remember you go do this, you do this, and you better go to get this. And like, we were taking care of a stranger. And so my mother always opened up her heart and her home to people to anybody that needed it.
Yeah.
So that's one legacy that I'll always cherish about her.
Yeah.
Is her kindness.
I'm going to have to say the same thing as well. And just her love for people. She loved people unconditionally. And sometimes I would look at her like, how and why? But she loved people. She loved the Lord. She put that in me. And I want to honor her that way.
You got anything?
I don't know. I think like my mother was such a hard worker. Like she had a drive that I feel like it's in me to where it's like, you know, nobody else gonna do it for you. Go do it for you. Do it for your damn self.
That's right.
So if you got to go get another job, go get another job. And I think I've always had that in me. Again, my mother, you know, if you called her at 4 o'clock in the morning, you drunk, she got in the car and go get her sister. I'd be like, you're a good one. But that's how she was.
I don't think I ever really understood my mother's compassion. Like my mother was one of those, when my maternal grandmother passed, my mother became that one that everybody in the family kind of looked to. And to me, I just sometimes just felt like she was too compassionate. I felt like she was too giving and too just, you know, trying to be in support of everyone. But it wasn't until she passed that I really started to understand her level of compassion, her capacity to be compassionate. But the lesson that I've always remembered, and it just stands out, is you can't make it in this world by yourself. People need people. You can't make it in this world by yourself. You know, so you always have to be kind to people and be mindful of how you treat people, because no one can make it in the world alone. And so that's the thing that stands out for me. But I appreciate you guys doing this. I know that this is gonna help somebody. I know this was a little challenging, but this is really good. So I appreciate you doing it. Thank you very much. And that's it.
Thank you. Thank you.
All righty.
Got me crying on camera.
Right.
Hey, baby, this is your mother at 6:20. I told you I would call you. Nothing wrong. So I will talk to you later. Love you. Bye.
Hi, Greg. Happy birthday. I guess you're busy. I love you.
Mama, where are you? I miss you so much, girl. Like today, this morning is hard, girl. I miss you today. Every day, every second, every minute. But today was one of them days, girl. And what you doing up there? What are you doing up there? Because I can't shake it this morning, girl. I'm tired of being strong, mama. Like, oh my God, girl. Come back. Come back. Or do I need to meet you? Because come back. I really hate that you left. And you're really gone. And this shit sucks. And I hate it here. I really do. I hate it. I hate that I can't have you back. I hate that my mama is gone. I hate that you left me, mama. I really do. I really do. It don't feel good. I don't like it. I told you I wasn't gonna like this shit. And I don't like it. And I miss you. And I love you.
Some days, man. Some days, dog, I'm telling you, man. My mama gone, man. Some days, boy. Some days I can't control it, boy. Some days I can't control it, boy. I don't use my mama for no content. I would have been doing that. See, my mama been gone 2016. If I was using her for content, you would have seen a lot of these videos. I got a lot of these. Well, I got a lot of these. Just miss my mama, dog. I don't know, man. I know. Some of y'all know, but, man, y'all don't know, bro. Y'all don't know, man. Y'all don't really know, man. We got your mama, man. If you got your mama and she in your life, cherish her, bro. Cherish her, bro. Cherish her. Just want to talk to my mama, man. That's it. That's all, man.
My mother died a little bit over 2 weeks ago. I am my only child, and I am grieving. I made it through the funeral planning. I made it through the services. I made it through the burial. And I finally made my way back home to DC. And this is the part I'm gonna cry. I still have my Christmas tree up. The plan was to always bring her back to my home to celebrate Christmas because we love Christmas. Unfortunately, our last Christmas was spent in the ICU. And I only have a Christmas tree because of her. And so I can't take it down. I can't take it down. And my house is in a standstill because I planned for my mom to be here. And I don't know how to move on from it. But I was dreading coming home because it reminded me that she's not here. Every part of my life, my apartment has her written all over it. And I don't know how to be here without her. So I don't know why I'm doing this, but I just miss my mom. I miss her every second of the day. So if you've recently lost your mom, my heart is with you. Whether it happened in the last few months or years, this is the kind of grief I don't think I'm ever gonna get over.
March 26, 2024, I lost my mother. Sixty-seven days later, May 30th, 2024, I lost my father. Today, I sit in the hospital. Because I just suffered a stroke. I refuse to die from grief. I've been suffering from grief for the past 2 years. I'm in the hospital because of grief. If you are experiencing grief, don't die from grief. Let me be your example to not die from grief. My 2-year anniversary is coming up for my mother next week. I still hear her voice. I still smell her. I still wish I could bring her back. I still get jealous when I see people with their moms. It's still very real. It does not feel like 2 years. If you are approaching your first year, if you're approaching your second year, I don't want you to die like me. If you are new to grief, I don't want you to die like me. If you are new to grief, I don't want you to die like me. If you are new to grief, I don't want you to die like me. If you are new to grief, I don't want you to die like me. Because you miss them so much, you feel like you're dying. You want them back so much, you feel like you're dying. Now my father was my first sexual experience at 4. I had my first sexual experience at 4 with my father. So I'm grieving a man I hated. I'm grieving a man that tortured me. If you're grieving anybody, I don't want you to die by grief like me. Go to therapy. Talk to God. Ask for forgiveness early in your grief. I don't want you to die from grief like me.
There's a difference between mourning and being consumed, between honoring someone's memory and making their death the defining event of your life. A way of holding on to someone by refusing to let the loss settle into something you can carry instead of something that carries you. We chose to make our mother's life the defining thing, not their death.
Yeah, I know that my mother was tired of all the things, but we had in our small town, there were neighbors, best friends, husbands. All of these people died around my mother. One by
Yeah.
one by one.
Yeah.
Her best friends, her husband, the best friend, her classmates died from COVID. Our neighbor down the street was like her son, which was my niece's uncle. He died.
But I think for me, like, what was beautiful for me, and I remember thinking about this in the moment, like my mom she didn't die alone. Like we were all there, like her 3 sisters were there, my cousins that we hadn't seen in a long time were there. Like it was a lot of us in that room that day. So she knew we were there. So that gave me some peace because it was like she knows she's not alone.
It's sending her all.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I feel like that would have been so hard.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
To be in the room.
Oh, I mean, I glanced up at those people, but I mean, my face was buried like next to her because she was lying in the bed, and and I was just sitting there. I was crying, and I was just saying all of these things to her. I was just saying all of these things because the doctor says she still can hear you, and I just remember saying to her, you did a great job. I'm proud of you for fighting for as long and as hard as you did. I said, but I know you're tired.
Yeah.
And I said, I love you so much. I said, but it's okay for you to let go.
Yeah.
It's okay for you to do something, make a decision for yourself.
Yeah.
I said, it's time for you to make a decision for yourself.
Yeah.
What
do you miss most about your mother?
I miss her calling me. You know what I mean? Because she would call me all the time. And and that's what I was going to say also was I'm grateful that I would take her calls. Like I would always get on the phone with her. Like even if I was busy, even if I was driving, even if I just picked up to say, hey, I'm in the middle of such and such, what's going on? She'd be like, oh no, I was just calling. But there would be times that I knew she was bored, and she would just call in, like, cause she might call me 2 or 3 times in the same day. But I was grateful that I would take the call. And then she was like, oh, well, I didn't really want anything. I said, well, no, I can talk for a few minutes. I'm just driving. You know what I mean? So I would talk to her. But she was definitely, like, when I would leave Madison's house after we do Fag Talk, she was my call.
Yeah.
So those are even though I've never gone to grab the phone to call her, those are the moments that I think, damn, this is a moment that I would have called my mom. Or something great happens, and I'm like, damn, I would have called my mom. Because she was the first person that I would call to tell about everything. You know what I mean?
My mother was the same. And my mother never smoked a cigarette, but she had a smoker's laugh.
Really?
It would go down to the bottom of her belly and come up. And my mother, she would tear my sisters and my brothers apart. That was my gossip partner.
Yeah.
And she told their asses up. Ooh, she thought the best shit.
Right.
Yes, I miss that.
Thank you so much for doing that.
The writer, Stewart.